Hello everyone, welcome to the linuxmint YouTube channel. In this video we are going to talk about linuxmint. This is basically a linuxmint training course or a long course. Linux is known for the faster performance, better speed and efficiency. So if you are a Windows user or a macOS user and if you want to shift to the linuxmint, then this course will help you to get familiar with the linuxmint. Linuxmint is one of the finest Linux-based distro and it is based on Ubuntu LTS. The GUI of the linuxmint most resembled with the Windows operating system. So if you are shifting from Windows to the linuxmint, then it will be very easy for you to understand the user interface of the linuxmint and to get familiar with the linuxmint. So in this course we are going to talk about that how you can install the linuxmint from your CD, DVD or from the USB, and how you can install the linuxmint on your virtual box. So in this course I will cover firing up from the terminal to writing the complex interfaces command on your terminal. So these are the topics that we will cover in this long course, and it will be very helpful for you to get familiar with the linuxmint operating system. So without any further ado, let's get started. Our first topic is the live CD sessions, and in this topic we will see that how we can burn the ISO of linuxmint into a CD or DVD, and then how we can install the ISO of linuxmint through that burned CD or DVD. So moreover, in this topic we will explore the linuxmint website and we will see that how we can download the linuxmint ISO file from there. So without any further ado, let's get started. This is the linuxmint official website, linuxmint.com, and to download the linuxmint ISO, click on the download button. So here we have the three desktop version for the linuxmint, the Cinnamon, Mate and XFCE. The XFCE is the lightest version of the linuxmint, whereas the Cinnamon is the default version or desktop for the linuxmint, and Mate remains in the middle. So if you are a new user of linuxmint and you have the previous experience of using the Windows, so I will recommend you to download the Cinnamon version because it resembles with the Windows, and you will get familiar with the linuxmint if you have downloaded and installed the Cinnamon version. So in order to download the Cinnamon version, we have two options here, 32-bit or 64-bit. So you can choose any option according to your processor architecture. So I'm going to install 64-bit version of Cinnamon. So click on 64-bit and here it shows the details that it is a linuxmint 19.3 Tricia Cinnamon 64-bit. The size is 1.9 gigabytes. And here we have multiple download mirrors. So we have to select a suitable download mirror. So I am selecting the James Madison University. So select what is near to you or what is suitable to you. So after selecting the mirror, you have to click on the start download button and it will start downloading the ISO. The ISO file is downloaded successfully, as you can see here. So after downloading the linuxmint ISO, we need a software or we need a program that can burn this ISO into a CD or DVD. So I often use this software that is Active ISO Burner. It is very easy to use. So to download this software, you have to go to this link and you can press on the download button and it will start downloading it. And after downloading it, you have to install it in order to use. So when you have successfully installed the ISO Active Burner, then go to your window menu and right here Active ISO Burner and open it up. Click on yes. Now we have to give it to the path of the ISO file. So in order to give the path of the ISO file, you have to click on three dots and you have to select the path. Click on open and now it is ready to burn. So in order to burn it into a CD or DVD, then you have to click on this burn button and it will start burning the ISO on your CD or DVD. Alright, so after burning the ISO into CD or DVD, you have to open the boot menu and it depends upon your laptop. So I am going to attach some pictures here that you can find help that how you can go to the boot menu, and into the boot menu you have to select your CD, and when you will select your CD, then it will show you an option to select the linuxmint. So you have to select the linuxmint option here and after that it will show you a desktop utility, and on the desktop you will have install linuxmint utility. So when you will click on the install linuxmint utility, it will ask you for multiple information and it will display you multiple options, like you have to select your language, then you have to select your keyboard layout, and then you have to select your hard drive settings, and then you have to create a user for your Linux Mint system. So after filling the appropriate information into the given form and choosing the appropriate option, it will start copying the file and the installation process will start. So we will have a look on the installation process briefly in the topic number 2, that is installation of Linux Mint. So in the second topic, I will show you the installation of Linux Mint in detail. So this is how you can burn the ISO file into a CD and you can create a live CD sessions. So I hope you got the point. That's it for this topic. So our next topic of discussion is the installation of Linux Mint, and I am going to install the Linux Mint on VirtualBox. My primary operating system is Windows and I have installed the VirtualBox on Windows, so I'm gonna install the Linux Mint on the VirtualBox. So whenever you have to create a new virtual machine in VirtualBox, then you have to click here on this new button. On this screen you have to write the name of the virtual machine like Linux Mint, and now you have to choose the machine folder where all the files of this virtual machine will be stored, and it could be any folder. I have created a folder in the F directory, that is VM folder, and I'm gonna choose this folder. After that you have to select the type of your operating system, and in case of Linux Mint the type is Linux. And after selecting the type of your operating system, then you have to select the version of your operating system. And in case of Linux Mint, the version of operating system will be Ubuntu 64-bit. The Linux Mint is based on Ubuntu LTS. So Ubuntu 64-bit is the appropriate version for the Linux Mint. As I have downloaded the 64-bit file of Linux Mint, therefore I have chosen here 64-bit, and in case if you download the 32-bit file, then you have to choose here Ubuntu 32-bit. So after filling the required information and choosing the appropriate options, you have to click on the next button. On this screen you have to select the amount of RAM memory in megabytes. Make sure you allocate at least the minimum quota. So in my system I have 8 GB of RAM memory, so I am allocating it half, that is 4 gigabytes. And after allocating the RAM memory, you have to select on the next button. Now you have to create a virtual hard disk. So select the second option and click on create button. So on this screen we have to choose the hard disk file type. The appropriate hard disk file type is VirtualBox disk image, that is the first option, VDI. So select this option and click on next. Now we have to choose the storage on physical hard disk. Here we have two options. Either we can choose the dynamically allocated memory or fixed size. A dynamically allocated hard disk file will only use space on your physical hard disk as it fills up, and a fixed size hard disk file may take longer to create on some system, but it is often faster to use. So the appropriate option is to select the dynamically allocated memory. So choose this option and click on next. Now you have to select the size of the virtual hard disk. The recommended size for the virtual hard disk is 10 GB, and you can select it according to your needs. And if you want to install more applications and more softwares on your Linux Mint system, then I will recommend you to enlarge the size of your hard disk. But if you want to use the Linux Mint as a regular user, then 15 GB is enough. So after selecting the size of the virtual hard disk, click on create. Alright, the virtual machine is created. So after creation of the virtual machine, you have to press the start button. Now we have to choose the ISO file for the Linux Mint system. So if you have downloaded the Linux Mint file, then you have to click here, click on add, go to the directory where the file is downloaded and select the file. Select this Linux Mint 19.3 Cinnamon 64-bit ISO and click on choose. And now click on start. Now we have to start the installation of the Linux Mint. Inside the live install media, we can see the install Linux Mint utility. It will help us to install the Linux Mint. So double click here and start up the utility. On this screen we have to select the preferred language. So select your preferred language and click on continue. Now we have to choose the keyboard layout, and here we have multiple keyboard layouts. So choose the appropriate keyboard layout for you and click on continue. If you want to install some third-party software for graphics and Wi-Fi hardware, flash, MP3 and other media, then you have to check this checkbox. It is safe to install the third-party softwares and it will improve the experience overall. So after clicking here, click on the continue button. Since we have created a new virtual hard disk, but it is also safe to raise the disk and install the Linux Mint on top of it. So select the first option and click on install now button. Click on continue. On this screen you have to choose your city and it will define the time and date format. I am choosing here New York. So after selecting the city you have to click on the continue button. Now we have to fill up this form to define a new user for the Linux Mint system, and it will be a default user. So enter your name here, that is linuxmint in my case, and my computer name is also linuxmint. Now choose a password for this user. Confirm your password and click on continue. The installation is in progress now and it will take approximately half an hour. It all depends upon the speed of your internet connection. The installation has finished and now you can continue testing the Linux Mint, or you can restart your system in order to use your system in a proper way. So click on the restart now button. This is the welcome screen of the Linux Mint, and here you can note one thing, that the width of the virtual machine is not as the width of the virtual box. To solve this issue you have to go to the devices and click the last option, that is insert guest edition CD image. Click on this, click on run. Enter your password here. Alright, the VirtualBox guest edition is installed successfully. Now we have to restart the system. And now you can see that the height and width of the virtual machine display is according to the VirtualBox and my system. So this is how you can install the Linux Mint, and that's it for this topic. Now let's move on to the next topic, that is topic number 3, creating the USB image and installing from USB. So in this topic we will see that how we can create a bootable USB flash drive and how we can install the Linux Mint from the USB. So in order to create a bootable USB flash drive, we need a software which make our USB flash drive a bootable flash drive. So there are multiple softwares that we can use for this purpose, but the software that I'm going to discuss in this topic is Etcher. Etcher is very easy to use and it is a very effective tool to create a bootable USB flash drive. You can go to this link and download the Etcher to create a USB flash drive. The reason that why I like the Etcher is its simplicity, and it is available for the macOS, Linux and Windows as well. The process of creating the bootable flash drive is similar on macOS, Linux and Windows. So it has detected my operating system, and my host operating system is Windows. So if you want to install the Etcher for your macOS or for Linux, then you can select the option from here and you can download it. So this is the Etcher screen, and from here we have to select different options to create a bootable USB flash drive. So the Linux Mint 19.3 ISO file is approximately 2 GB, so make sure that you have a USB flash drive which has more memory or more space than that. So I will recommend you to have 4 GB flash drive so that you do not face any problems while creating the bootable USB flash drive and installing the Linux Mint. So first of all, you have to take your USB drive and you have to connect it to your laptop or your system. Alright, so now you have to select this option flash from file and select the linuxmint 19.3 ISO. It has auto detected my USB flash drive, so it is safe to have one USB flash drive while you are creating the bootable USB flash drive. So if you have multiple USB flash drives attached to your system, then you can select this option, that is change, and you can select the other USB flash drive if you want to. So after selecting the file and the USB flash drive, you have to click on this flash button and it will start creating the bootable USB flash drive. The bootable flash drive is created successfully and you can see that the flash is complete and there is one successful device. So this is how you can create a bootable flash drive. So our next step is to install the Linux Mint from this USB device. So here it comes a little bit complex process because everyone has a different physical machine or laptop or computer, but I am using the HP laptop. So what you have to do, you have to select the boot options and then you have to select your USB, and after this you will see the Linux Mint screen. So on the Linux Mint screen you have to select Start Linux Mint, and when you will select the option Start Linux Mint, the installation process will start. As we have seen the installation process in topic number 2, that when the Linux Mint started, you found a utility install Linux Mint. So I am attaching the pictures of installation process here, so you will get an idea that how you can install the Linux Mint. So you have to select this utility install Linux Mint, and then you have to select the options like your keyboard options and your language. Then you have to create a user for your Linux Mint system, and after that the installation will complete, and after that you will be able to enjoy the Linux Mint on your system. So that is how you can create the USB image and install the Linux Mint from the USB. So I hope you got the point. That's it for this topic. Our next topic is Nvidia driver configuration. Let me just highlight this. So first of all, let's discuss that what is driver. A device driver or hardware driver is a group of files. It enables one or more hardware devices to communicate with the computer's operating system. Without drivers, the computer would not be able to send and receive data correctly to the hardware devices such as printer. And we also have more hardware devices in our computer. We also need some kind of drivers like the sound drivers and video drivers to run the sound files and video files on our system. And Nvidia is a company which is the inventor of the GPU, and it creates interactive graphics on laptops, workstation, mobile devices and notebooks. So Nvidia provides the graphic cards which we use to play the games on our system, and we can play multiple games on our Linux Mint system. So now in this topic, let's see that how we can configure or install the Nvidia driver on our Linux Mint system. So in order to install the Nvidia drivers or configure the Nvidia drivers on our Linux Mint system, first of all we have to detect the model of Nvidia graphic card and the recommended driver. So to detect the model of your Nvidia graphic card and the recommended driver, write the following command on your terminal, that is Ubuntu drivers devices. So this command will actually list down all the Nvidia graphics card and the recommended drivers on your Linux Mint system. I am running the Linux Mint on the VirtualBox, so therefore it is not showing the information of the recommended drivers and the Nvidia graphic card. And you can see that it is showing the information VirtualBox guest DKMS distro non-free. So if you are not running your Linux Mint on the VirtualBox and you are running it on some physical system or your laptop or computer, so you will get the information of the recommended drivers and the Nvidia graphic card. So the information of the drivers and the Nvidia graphic card will be displayed here like this. If you want to install all the recommended drivers on your Linux Mint system, then you have to write here on your terminal sudo Ubuntu drivers auto install. So it will auto install all the recommended drivers on your system. So when you will hit enter, the drivers will be updated. Enter your sudo password here. It will may show some errors on my system due to the VirtualBox. but in your case it will run perfectly. This command was all about, so this command covers all the recommended drivers, but if you want to install some desired driver, then you can install it with the apt command. For example, if you have Nvidia 390 on your system and you want to install the driver for it, then you can install it with this command, sudo apt install Nvidia, and this is the name of the driver. So here you have to write the name of the driver. So when you will hit enter, it will install the Nvidia 390 on your system. So once the installation is done, you have to reboot your system and these drivers will work on your system. You can also install the Nvidia setting tool on your system and it will allow you to configure your Nvidia card via graphical user interface. So to install the Nvidia settings, you have to write on your terminal sudo apt install Nvidia -settings. So press Y here to continue the installation process. Alright, the Nvidia settings tool is successfully installed on my Linux Mint system, and you can run this tool from here by writing on your terminal Nvidia settings, and when you will hit enter, the tool will start it. Moreover, you can also go to the driver manager to manage all your drivers and to see the recommended drivers installation. It will list down all the recommended drivers and their configuration on the driver manager. So this is how you can configure and install the Nvidia driver and the general driver on your Linux Mint system. And that's it for this topic. So now let's move to the next topic, which is installing multimedia codecs. In this topic, we will see that how we can install multimedia codecs on Linux Mint. Some multimedia content requires additional codecs to be installed, and if you were online when installing Linux Mint and you tick the option to install these codecs, then they are already installed. But for any reason, if you have not installed multimedia codecs on Linux Mint, then you can install it manually. So there are two ways to install multimedia codecs on Linux Mint. So the first way is go to the app menu, search for the sound and video and click on it. And if the multimedia codecs is not installed on your system, then you will get an output like this. And when you will click on the install button, the multimedia codecs will be installed on your system. And the second way is using the terminal. So we will see the terminal method in detail. So first of all, open up your terminal and run this command, sudo apt install, and here you have to write mint -meta -codecs. So after writing the command, hit enter. The system is prompting for the sudo password, so you have to write your password here. The multimedia codecs is already installed on my Linux Mint system. So if it is not installed on your system and you are installing it in this way, then it will take 4 to 5 minutes. During the installation, the system might ask for confirmation by providing with Y or N option. So you have to hit Y to confirm and then wait for a while until the multimedia codecs are installed on your system. So that is how you can install multimedia codecs on Linux Mint. That's it for this topic. Now move on to the next topic, that is all about the Cinnamon desktop. The default desktop for Linux Mint is Cinnamon. The layout of Cinnamon desktop most resembles with the Windows XP. Linux Mint make the software easy to use. Let's take a look on the different components of the Mint desktop. So the first component we will look at is Mint menu. Click on this and menu will appear. It is very nice and attractive menu. You can open it by just clicking here or just pressing the window key. On the left side is the favorite column. It shows the favorite programs for the quick and easy access. You can add the programs to the favorites. So to add the program, right click on the program that you want to add to the favorite. Click on add to favorite option. And you can see that the calculator application is added to the favorite column. Or you can simply drag the application icon into the favorite column and it will be added into the favorite column. To remove the application from the favorites bar, drag the icon outside like this and it will be disappeared from the favorite column. You can search any application by writing the name in the search bar. For example, if you want to search the LibreOffice, then use this search bar, enter here LibreOffice, and you will find all the applications that are related to the search string that you have entered into the search bar. This is the application column. Hovering on any application will show every application that is related to it. For example, if I hover on this graphics, so it will show all the applications that are related to the graphics. And similarly, if I hover on the internet, and then it will show all the applications that are related to the internet like Firefox browser, Telegram desktop, Thunderbird mail and transmission. This button is the quick desktop access button. If multiple windows are opened, then by clicking on this button, the windows will be minimized and the desktop will be appeared quickly like this. And here you have the Firefox web browser. It is the default web browser for the Linux Mint. You can search and browse the things here easily. If you right click on the browser, then it gives you the multiple options. Like you can open a new window, you can open a new private window, you can unpin this from the panel. And here you have the terminal option or the terminal icon, and it is the main component for any Linux based operating system. So if you will click on this, then the terminal will be opened. By clicking on this particular option or the icon, you can open the home directory. And here you have multiple directories. So when you will click on any directory, then it will be opened. Like if you want to go to the downloads folder, then you have to click here and it will show the downloads folder. On the right side of the Windows list, there is a system tray. This shows the icon of that program which are running on the system. Here you have software update manager option. So if you will click here, the software update manager will be opened. Next is the system report icon. If you click on this, it shows the detected problems in the system and gives you warning regarding language packs, root password and any other notification. It also provides the complete system information along with the crash report features. So it is a good feature to keep you updated regarding your system warnings and problems. The third one is the network option. Clicking on the network options will show options regarding network and show you the PC network information. Like if we click here, it shows the information of the PC network. Here you have the volume control option. You can increase or decrease the system volume from here. This icon shows the battery status. And here you get the current time according to the selected time format. Moreover, you can change the date and time settings. If you click on this option, this window will appear and you can change your region or the city and you can change the time format as well. Linux Mint gives you the option to work in different workspaces. If you press Ctrl, Alt and the up arrow key, it will show you the different workspaces. We can organize the open windows into different workspaces. It provides a good opportunity to keep the desktop cleaned and organized. So here in this workspace I have two windows. If I want to move this window into the workspace 2, then I have to drag it here. By default, Cinnamon have 4 workspaces, but you can add more workspaces by clicking on this button. And it has added workspace 5, and similarly we can add another workspace. The workspace 1 is open right now, but if you want to move to the next workspace, then you have to press Ctrl, Alt and the right arrow key. And similarly, if you want to go back to the previous workspace, then you have to press Ctrl, Alt and the left arrow key. So this is how you can change the workspaces. If you want to restart or shut down your system, then click here. You have suspend, restart, cancel and shut down options here. And by clicking on this option, you can lock your computer. This is the lock screen of Linux Mint 19.3 Cinnamon. So if I enter my password and the system is unlocked, so that is all about the Cinnamon desktop. Now let's move on to the next topic, that is using the terminal. Terminal is the important component of Linux Mint. You don't need to use the terminal if you are a general user, because Linux Mint provide very good GUI to perform different tasks and operations. The GUI gives you all the point and click comfort, but it is a fact that the GUI is much slower, and when you use the terminal and the command line, you do the things faster. You can open up the terminal in Linux Mint by clicking here, or you can use the shortcut that is Ctrl-Alt-T. So when you will press Ctrl-Alt-T, it will open the terminal. In Linux, Bash is the big part. If you run into a situation like you are working on a forum and you're stuck in a problem, then someone tells you to open up the terminal and run the commands. The terminal is very powerful. Once you learn that how to use the terminal, you will find that you like working with the terminal instead of the GUI point and click method. Terminal allows you to do different complex things with a simple command. We can perform the simple and complicated task by running the commands on terminal. For example, if you want to update your apt cache, then you just simply have to write a command on terminal sudo apt update, hit enter, enter your password, and it will update your apt cache in a simple and convenient way. Terminal is consist of two things. One is shell and other is terminal itself. This is the shell where we write the commands and it communicates with the operating system. And this whole window is called terminal. As I discussed earlier that we can use the terminal to perform the simple and the complex task. For example, if you want to list all the files that are present in the current directory, you just have to run the command ls, that is list storage command. Hit enter and it will show all the files and folders that are present in the current directory. And if you want to know the present directory, then you have to write the command pwd, that is print working directory, and it will print your current directory. The home is the current directory and the linuxmint is the active user. And if you want to move to another directory, like you want to go to the downloads folder, then you have to write here cd, write the name of the directory, downloads, and if you will press the tab, it will give you the suggestion. Alright, you can zoom in the terminal by pressing Ctrl, Shift and plus key, and similarly if you want to zoom out the terminal, then you have to press Ctrl and minus key. So if we hit enter, and you can see that the current directory is changed to the downloads folder. And if I pwd here, and you can see that our current directory is the downloads folder. By using the terminal, you can create the text files and you can perform the other task as well. For example, if you want to create a simple text file in the downloads folder, then you have to write here touch and write here the name of the file that you want to create. For example, my text file .txt. So if I hit enter and ls here, and you can see that a file is created. So it is very easy to use the terminal and perform the different tasks and operations through the terminal. Let me just zoom out this terminal. Alright. So on the top left corner on terminal, we have different options. If we click here on file, we can open a new tab. So the new tab is opened here. And similarly, we open a new window, we can close this tab and we can close the window. So if we go to the edit, then we have multiple options here. You can change the color and the text of this terminal by going to the preferences option. So if we click on preferences, so here you can change the text of the terminal as well. And from here you can change the color of the terminal. If you want to change the background of the terminal, then click here and select whatever color you want. Like I want to make my terminal red, so I will choose the red color here. Alright. Okay. You can see that the color of the terminal is changed to the red now. And similarly, we can change the text color as well from here. Let's revert back to the default color. So right now we are in the downloads folder directory, and if you want to go back to your previous directory, then you have to write here cd double full stop and hit enter, and you can see that the previous directory is now activated. So if I pwd here, and you can see that our directory is home linuxmint. If you write some command on the terminal like sudo apt update And if you want to copy this command, then you have to select this, and you cannot copy it by just pressing Ctrl C because it will terminate the command. And if you want to copy this command, then you have to select this command, right click here and click on copy. And similarly, if you want to paste this command, then you have to right click here and select paste, and the command is pasted. So this is all about the terminal on Linux Mint. Now let's move on to the next topic, that is installing packages on Linux Mint. Packages are the external softwares or third-party applications that we need on Linux Mint to perform some task or operations. In the other operating systems like Windows, we call it applications or programs, or in the modern way we call it apps. But in the Linux world, they are called packages. An example of package could be the Chrome browser or the Zoom application. There are multiple ways to install packages on Linux Mint. So let's discuss each method one by one. So the first method that we are going to have a look is the package manager, which comes up with the Linux Mint. If you go to your app menu and you search here for the software manager, so this application is basically the software manager or the package manager. This tool has the ability to install the packages from the repository. This is the best, safe and the most recommended way to install the packages on Linux Mint. If you want to install any package like VLC Media Player, also we have the VLC Media Player in the editor's pick, but you can search it here as well. VLC. It is searching for the software repositories. In order to install the VLC Media Player on your Linux Mint, click on this and it will show this screen, and if you want to install it, then you have to click here on this install button and it will be installed on your Linux Mint system. And similarly, you have multiple packages here to install on your Linux Mint, so you can choose whatever you want. So that was the first way to install the packages on your Linux Mint system through Package Manager. So the second way to install the packages on Linux Mint is the Synaptic Package Manager. This is like the software manager. Linux Mint is based on Ubuntu, which is based on Debian. So Linux Mint comes with the Synaptic Manager. Open this application and you require to enter your password to open the Synaptic Package Manager. Alright. And here you have the list of all the packages that are installed on your Linux Mint system and that are available in your repository. So to search any package, go here, write the name of the package like VLC, search it. So it shows all the packages that are related to the VLC, and you can install the packages from here. And if I go back to my all option, and here you will get the information of the installed packages on your Linux Mint with the installed version. Like this ACL package is installed on my Linux Mint and its installed version is 2.2.52. So this is all about the Synaptic Package Manager. The third way of installing the packages on the Linux Mint is through the terminal. Most of the people say that the terminal is the scary part of the Linux Mint because you have to write the text and the commands to install the packages on your Linux Mint. But working with the terminal and installing the packages through terminal is very easy. You can install any package by writing the commands on the terminal. You can install those packages that are available in the repository of the Linux Mint by just writing a single command. Before installing any package through the repository, you have to update your repository cache by writing the command sudo apt-update. The apt cache is updated. So when you have to install any package, first of all you have to write here sudo. Sudo gives the super user privileges, and then you have to write here apt. apt is the advanced package tool that take care of all the packages in your Linux system, and then you have to write here install, and now you have to write the name of the application that you want to install. So let's install Kodi. Kodi is the media player. Hit enter. And the installation is in process. If you want to continue the installation process, then press Y and hit enter. Alright, the Kodi is installed on my Linux Mint system. To search for Kodi, go to the app menu, write here Kodi, and you can see that it is installed on my Linux Mint system. So that is how you can install the packages from the repository of the Linux Mint. When you have to install some external Debian packages like the Google Chrome, then simply you have to download the Debian package, save the file. We have the Debian package in the downloads folder, so we have two options to install this Debian package. Either we can install it through the terminal or we can use the GUI to install this Debian package. So when you have to install it through the GUI, then you have to right click here and select the first option. When you will click on this install package button, the Debian package will be installed into your Linux Mint system. And the other way is to install this Debian package through the terminal. To install it through the terminal, you have to open the terminal in this directory. Then you have to write here sudo dpackage -i, and after -i you have to write the name of the downloaded Debian package. So in this case, the name of the Debian package is Google Chrome stable grunt amd64.deb. So when you will hit enter, enter your system password, hit enter. So the installation is started and this package will be installed on your Linux Mint system. So these are the different methods to install the packages on Linux Mint. So the Google Chrome is installed. To verify the installation, go to the app menu and search here Google Chrome, and you can see that it is installed. So these are the some common and best ways to install the packages on your Linux system. And moreover, we have different package managers like app, image, snap and the flatpak. And by using these package managers, you can also install the applications or the packages on your Linux Mint. Snap and flatpak are universal Linux packages. Let me just clear the terminal. And in order to install any application by using the snap, you have to write here sudo snap install, and then you have to write the name of the application, and when you will hit enter, then it will be installed. Like if you want to install the Telegram desktop application, so when you will hit enter, it will be installed on your Linux Mint system. So these were some common ways to install the packages on your Linux Mint system. I hope you got the point. The next point of discussion is updating existing packages to the newer versions. So let's see that how we can update the existing packages to the newer versions on the Linux Mint. There are two ways to update your existing packages on Linux Mint. The first one is through the Update Manager software. In your Linux Mint 19.3, here you will get the icon for the Software Update Manager. So click on it. The Update Manager application will show all the updates that are available. So you can install the updates by just clicking here on this option. And the second way of updating existing packages to the newer version is through the terminal. So open up your terminal. And to update the packages, write here sudo apt-get update. So it will fetch the updates that are available. apt-get is a command line tool which helps in handling packages in Linux. Hit enter. Enter your system password. The updation is in process. And now write the command sudo apt-get upgrade. This command will upgrade the current packages. So in order to continue this process, write Y here and hit enter. So all the packages whose updates were available are updated to the newer version. So it is very easy to update all the packages to the newer version by a single command. When all the packages are updated to the newer versions, there come some problems with the dependencies. So to handle all the dependency problems, we have to run the command sudo apt-get dist -upgrade. So this command will take care about all the dependencies. It upgrades the most important packages at the expense of less important ones if necessary. And this command will also remove some outdated and broken packages. So run this command. Enter your sudo password. Hit enter. Press Y here. The dependency issues are fixed and all the packages are upgraded to the newest version. So that is how you can upgrade the packages to the newest version on your Linux Mint. Our next topic is removing the packages from your Linux Mint system. So when we say removing the packages, we actually talk about uninstalling the packages or some software applications from your Linux Mint system. So removing the packages or uninstalling the packages from your Linux Mint is very easy. And we can do it in two ways. Either we can remove a package by using the apt-get command, or we can remove it by using the dpackage command. So we will see both methods in this topic, that how we can remove the packages by using the apt-get and dpackage command. So when you have to remove the package, first of all open up your terminal. Let me just zoom in the terminal a little bit. So before removing any package, identify the appropriate package that you want to remove. So therefore you need to see the list of the installed packages on your Linux Mint system, and by using the command dpackage --list, you can see the list of all installed packages on your Linux Mint system. For example, here I have a package for the Chromium browser. And similarly, I have a package for the Google Chrome. So it is the list of the installed packages on your Linux Mint system. And here we have the Chromium browser and the other packages as well. So now let's see that how we can remove the packages from the Linux Mint. So the first command that we are going to discuss is the apt-get command. So when you have to remove a package by using the apt-get command, then you have to write here sudo apt-get --perg remove, and now you have to write the name of the package that you want to remove. For example, if I want to remove the Chromium browser from my Linux Mint system, so I will write here Chromium, and this is the name of the package that I want to remove from my Linux Mint. So the parameter remove will remove the installation files, but it will keep the configuration files. So by adding the perg, we can remove the configuration files as well. So when I will hit enter, enter your system password. So in order to continue the uninstallation of the package, write here Y and hit enter. Alright, the package is successfully uninstalled from the Linux Mint. So if I go to my app menu and search here from the Chromium browser, and you can see that I do not have any Chromium browser installed on my Linux Mint. And similarly, if we run this command dpackage --list again, and if we go to the C category, so you can see that we do not have the Chromium browser in the installed packages list. And similarly, we can use the dpackage command to remove the package from our Linux Mint system. The next method of uninstalling the packages or removing the packages from the Linux Mint is by using the dpackage command. So when you want to remove the package by using the dpackage command, then you have to write here sudo dpackage --remove, or you can simply write here R, and then you have to write the name of the package that you want to remove. So in this case, I want to remove Kodi, which is a media player. So hit enter, and it is removing Kodi from my Linux Mint system. Alright, so the Kodi is successfully uninstalled or removed from my system. So that is how you can remove the packages from your Linux Mint system. Now let's move on to the next topic, that is installing the popular softwares on the Linux Mint. In the topic number 8, we have seen different ways to install the packages on your Linux Mint system. So in this topic, I will install some of the popular softwares on Linux Mint. so that you can get an idea that how you can install the packages on your Linux Mint system. In the topic number 8, we have discussed that how we can install the Chrome on the Linux Mint system. So now let's move on to the Zoom application. In order to install the Zoom on your Linux Mint, open up your favorite web browser and go to the Zoom official website. Here you have to define the Linux type, the OS architecture. It could be either 32-bit or 64-bit. And here you have to choose the version. So after putting or entering this detail into this website, then click on the download button and save the file. So in the downloads folder, you can see that the Zoom is downloaded successfully. So in order to install the Zoom, go back to your terminal, change the directory to the downloads folder and write here sudo apt install. And now you have to specify the name of the package that you want to install, and it is zoom _amd 64.deb. The .deb specify that it is a Debian package. Alright, so hit enter and the installation is in progress. So in order to continue the installation process, press Y here. Alright, so the Zoom is installed successfully. So go to the app menu and search for Zoom, and you can see that it is installed successfully. So setting up the Zoom is very easy on the Linux Mint. You can easily set up the Zoom. So the next package that we are going to discuss is Skype package. So it is the Skype official website, and download the Debian package for Skype. Save file. The downloading is in progress. It will take 2 to 3 minutes, and it all depends upon your internet connection speed. Alright, the file for Skype is downloaded successfully, and similarly we have to open up the terminal again. And in order to install the Skype on my Linux Mint system, I have to write here sudo apt install. The installation process is almost similar for all the apps, and here we have to write the name of the file that we have downloaded for the Skype, and the name of the file is Skype for Linux -64.deb. Alright, the Skype is installed successfully on my Linux Mint, and in order to verify the installation, go to the app menu and search here for the Skype, and you can see that we have Skype application here, and the Skype is ready to use. As I said earlier that the downloading and the installation process for all the applications is almost similar. So the next app that we are going to install on my Linux Mint system is the Steam app. Steam is a gaming platform, and more than 3,000 games are available on Linux. And Steam is one of the major and the important application for those users who play games on their system. So in order to install the Steam on your Linux Mint, fire up your terminal and add this repository sudo add apt repository multiverse. Enter your system password here. Alright, the repository is added successfully. Now update your apt cache. Sudo apt-get update. The apt cache is updated successfully. Now run the following command to install the Steam on your Linux Mint system. And the command is sudo apt-get install Steam. This command will install the Steam. So press Y here to continue this installation process. So the Steam is installed successfully. So now go to the app menu, search here for the Steam and launch it. So it will download some additional packages. Alright, the additional packages for the Steam are downloaded and the Steam is set up. So this is the main screen or main window for the Steam, and from here you can create a new account and you can log into an existing account to use the Steam and play the games. So that is how you can install the popular softwares on your Linux Mint system. Alright, now let's move on to the next topic, that is using the man pages on Linux Mint. So in this topic we will see that what are man pages and how we can use them. Man is the built-in help system in Linux and it is the short form of the manual. Simply we can call the man page a documentation of any package or any command that is available on the Linux Mint. So to see the man pages, go to the terminal, and we have multiple packages in our Linux Mint system and we can use the multiple commands on the Linux Mint system. So in order to see the manual of any command or any package that is installed on the Linux Mint, you just simply have to write here man, and then you have to write here the name of the command and the name of the package. For example, if I want to see the manual of the pwd command, then I will write here man, and next I will write here the name of the command, and it will show the documentation in this way. So reading the man pages is super simple. First of all, here you have to name of the package or the name of the command, that is pwd, which is print name of the current working directory. And here we have the description. By using the arrow keys you can navigate on this page, and to see the more detail you can press H, or you can quit anytime by writing the Q here. So from here you can see the help, and if you want to see the more detail then you can press enter. So the man page basically shows the details or the documentation of any package that is installed on our Linux Mint system. For example, it shows here that what are the parameters that we can use with the pwd command. And similarly we can see the man pages for the ct command or for the ls command. So the ls is the list directory contents, and here we have all the description and the parameters that we can use with the ls command. And to see the man page of any installed package on your Linux Mint, write here man, and for example if you want to see the man page of the Google Chrome, then you have to write here Google Chrome and hit enter, and it shows that its name is Google Chrome, the web browser from the Google. And here you have the multiple options that are available for the Google Chrome. So this is how you can use the man pages to see the documentation of any package or any command on your Linux Mint system. Man pages basically help you to know the details of the installed packages on your system, and it tells you the brief description or the information of any package. For example, if I want to see that what the ping command do, so we can see it using the man page. So here we can see that the ping, it sent ICMP to the network host, and here we have the different options for the ping command. And similarly we have the author detail and the other details as well. So you can press Q anytime to quit this man page. So this was all about the man pages on the Linux Mint. Our next topic of discussion is the themes and the wallpapers configuration on the Linux Mint. The wallpapers and the themes enhance your experience on the Linux Mint. You have multiple wallpapers and the themes available on your Linux Mint. To see the variety of available wallpapers on your Linux Mint, right click here and you have option here which is change desktop background. So when you will click here, it will show you the multiple options. So these are the Linux Mint backgrounds or the wallpapers that are available, and in these categories we also have some beautiful wallpapers, and we can update the any wallpaper easily. Linux Mint comes up with the most beautiful wallpapers. So to update any wallpaper on your background or on your Linux Mint system, you just simply have to select any background by clicking here, and it will be updated on your desktop. And you can see that this background is updated on my desktop. So this was the simple demonstration that how you can update the backgrounds or the wallpapers on your Linux Mint. So now let's revert back to our default desktop that we are using. And now let's see that how we can configure the themes on Linux Mint. So to configure the themes, go to the app menu and search for the system settings, or you can find the icon for the system settings in your favorite bar. Click on it. So in the appearance category you have the themes option. Select the themes option. So here you have multiple options available. You can configure the themes for the window borders, for your icons, controls, mouse pointer and the desktop. So when you will click here, window borders, so you will have different options available. For example, if you want to update it your Mint X, then click here, and for the icons you have a long list of the themes here. So choose whatever you want to choose. In my case I am choosing Mint Y Aqua. And similarly for the controls, if you will click here, you will have multiple options. So I am choosing Mint Y Aqua. And similarly for the mouse pointer we have DMZ black and DMZ white. I am already using the DMZ white, so I am changing it to the DMZ black. And to update the theme on your desktop, click here. You have multiple themes available here. You can choose whatever you want, what is appropriate for you or what attracts you. So in my case I am choosing here Mint Y Purple. So we have configured our theme successfully, and by going to the app menu you can see that the color of the icons or the style of the icons is totally changed, and it is now compatible with the configured theme. And here we have the option to add and remove the themes. Installing the themes is very easy on the Linux Mint. There are multiple themes that are available. So in order to install any theme, you just have to click on this option and the theme will be installed. And you can choose the install theme by going to this option. In case if you have tired of change and want to go back to something comfortable, you can always revert back to the Linux Mint default theme. So if you have forgotten what the default theme was, so that is not the problem. Simply open up your terminal. And one thing that you can notice here, that the terminal theme is also updated. So to revert back to the default theme, simply write the command dconf reset -f org/cinnamon, and you will be reverted back to your default theme. And you can see that you have reverted back to the Linux Mint Cinnamon default theme, and the applications icon and the look of the desktop is changed to the previous theme that was the default theme. So that is how you can configure the themes and the wallpapers on your Linux Mint, and that's it for this topic. So our next topic is file editors, Vim, Nano and Emacs, and this is essentially the topic number 14. Vim, Nano and Emacs are the text editor or the file editor for Linux. Text editors can be used for writing code, editing text files such as configuration files, creating user instruction file and many more. In Linux, text editors are of two kinds, that is graphical user interface and command line text editors. The GUI based text editor is Atom, gedit, and there are many more GUI based text editors that you can use on Linux Mint. Editing text on the command line is more easy. It is fast and efficient way. It is the easiest possible way. If you are beginner, then the command line text editors are best for you. So Vim, Nano and Emacs are the command line text editors. There are multiple command line editors available for the Linux Mint. So the first editor that we are gonna discuss is Nano. It is built-in editor in Linux Mint. So here on the desktop I have a file which is myfile.txt, and I'm gonna put some data or something into it, that is linuxmint, and let me just save this file. So to open this file or to edit this file with the Nano text editor, we simply have to write here on the terminal nano, and now we have to write the name of the file, that is myfile.txt. And you can see that this file will be open into my terminal, and you can see that the linuxmint is written here. So I can edit this file or I can remove the existing data as well. So let me just put here welcome to the linuxmint. So you can type whatever you want to, and you can add data into this file. Alright, so this is Nano Editor. Couple of options are available at the bottom of the terminal. For example, you have to press Ctrl G for the get help. You have to press Ctrl O for write out. To exit the Nano Editor, you have to press Ctrl X. Now it will ask that do you want to save these changes, and if you want to save these changes then you have to press Y, and if you don't want to save the changes then you have to press N and press enter. And you can see that we are out of the Nano Editor now. So let me just write here cat myfile.txt, and you can see that it has written the content on the terminal that what we have written into the file by using the Nano Editor. So this is how you can use the Nano Editor. So the next editor that we are gonna discuss is the Vim editor. Vim is another command line or terminal based editor, but it is more advanced, or it has more options than the Nano Editor. We have to use multiple options when we are choosing the Vim editor. So if you do not have the Vim editor installed on your Linux Mint system, then you can install it by this command sudo apt-install vim. Enter your sudo password and it will install the Vim editor on your Linux Mint system. So let's open this file again with the Vim editor, and to open the file with the Vim editor you have to write on the terminal vim myfile.txt, that is essentially the name of the file, and the file is opened here. So we can also edit this file. So there are a couple of options that we can use in the Vim editor. For example, to delete the unwanted character you have to write X on the terminal, and I will show you how you can use these options. So let me just discuss these options first. And similarly you can use U to undo the last command, or you can press Ctrl R to redo, and if you want to save and exit then you have to write on the terminal :WQ, and if you want to put all the changes into a trash then you have to write here :Q-. And similarly these are the options that you can choose with the Vim. So if we go back to our terminal, and if I want to quit this file then I have to write here :Q-, and when I will press enter it will quit the file. And if you have written something into the file and you want to save this and quit the editor, then you can write here WQ and it will save all the changes. So you can explore more about the Vim text editor. And now the third editor that we are gonna discuss is the emacs. Emacs is one of the finest terminal based text editor, and it is the more advanced text editor. So to open up the emacs, write on your terminal emacs, and you can see that it is not installed on my system. So to install it you have to write sudo apt-install emacs 25. So it will take 96 MB approximately of additional disk space on your system. So press Y here to continue the installation process. Alright, the text editor is installed on my system. So to open it up, write here emacs and open it up. So as I said earlier that the emacs is one of the finest terminal based text editor, and it is more complicated to use because you have to use a lot of the commands and the keystrokes to use this. And you can write the programming files or the instruction files or the configuration file using this text editor. So if you are not familiar with this text editor, on this page you can see that the tutorial for the emacs is available. Click here and you can learn about the keystrokes and all the tutorial. So to open a file, click on open a file option. Select this file, that is myfile.txt, and you can write data here or put some data here. Hello from Linux hint. This was a brief introduction of the Nano, Vim and the emacs text editor. You can further explore about the emacs text editor, and that's it for this topic. So our next topic is topic number 15, which is copy, move, rm, touch and link command. And beside these commands we will also see some common commands that we can use on Linux Mint, and these commands are very important to know if you are working on your Linux Mint, Ubuntu or any Debian based operating system. The other commands that we will discuss are the cat command, the ls command, the pwd command, mkdir command, and we will see that how we can use these commands for multiple purposes on our Linux Mint system. So these commands are called the bash commands. So first of all, the bash listen to these commands and perform some actions. And if you are working on any Debian based system or Linux Mint system, you must be familiar with these commands because they are really helpful. So this is my terminal. So first command that we will discuss is pwd command. The pwd command shows the present working directory of your system. So if you want to see the present working directory of your system, then you have to write here on your terminal pwd and hit enter, and it will show the present working directory, that is linuxmint. And similarly, if you want to move to the other directory, then you have to write here cd, and if I want to move to the downloads folder, then I have to write here downloads, and you can see that we have navigated to the downloads folder successfully. So if I write here pwd, so you can see that now our present working directory is home/linuxint/downloads. And if you want to go back to your previous directory, then you have to write here cd space double full stop, and you are back into your previous working directory. So this is the pwd command. Now let's discuss the ls command. ls command show the contents and the files folders which are present on your present working directory. So in the linuxint directory, we have desktop directory, documents, downloads, music, pictures, public, templates, and videos. And similarly, if I navigate to my desktop and if I ls here, you can see that we have a file here that is topics.odt. So this was about pwd and ls command. So now let's discuss about the touch command, that how we can use the touch command and for what purpose we use the touch command. The touch command is used to create the files on your Linux based system. The file created using the touch command is empty. So this command can be used when the user does not have data to store at the time of file creation. For example, on my desktop, if I ls here again, and we can see that we have a topics.odt file here. So if I write here on my terminal touch, and I want to create a new txt file, then I will write the name of the file here. For example, new file.txt. So when I will hit enter, you will see that a new file will be created on the desktop. And the file is created, that is new file.txt. You can also verify it through the ls command. And we can also see that we have new file.txt on the terminal. So this is how you can use the touch command to create the new files. So now let's see that how we can copy these files by using the copy command. First of all, let me put some data into this file. Welcome to the linuxmint. Alright, so I have saved the file. So if you want to see the content of these files, that what content is present in this file, then you have to write on your terminal cat name of the file, that is new file.txt, and it has printed the content on your terminal, that is welcome to the linuxmint, what is present in this file. So now let's discuss about the copy command, that how we can copy the content by using the copy command or copy the files. So for using the copy command, we use the shortcut name, that is cp, and now write the name of the file that you want to copy, that is new file.txt. And now you have to write the name of the new file that will be created in this copying process. Okay. So now let me write here copy file.txt. And you can see that it has created here a new file, that is copy file.txt. And the content is also copied. So you can see on your terminal that welcome to the linuxmint is the content that is present into the file. So if you are creating a new file by using the cp command and this file is already present on your desktop or any directory, and if you don't want to overwrite it, so by default it will overwrite the file if the file is already present in the directory. But if you want to don't overwrite the file, then you have to write cp -i option new file.txt, and we also have a copy file.txt here. So let me write here copy file.txt. So now it is showing that cp overwrite copy file.txt. So if you do not want to overwrite this file, then you have to write n here and it will not overwrite the file. So this is how you can use the cp command to copy the files and the contents of the files. So now let's move on to the next command, that is mv command. mv command is used to move the files from one directory to another directory. For the move command, we write here on the terminal mv and it is the shortcut for the move command. And now write the name of the file that you want to move. For example, I want to move the new file.txt into the downloads directory. Then I will write here downloads and hit enter. And now you can see that we don't have a new file.txt on my desktop. And if I navigate to the downloads folder and ls here, you can see that we have new file.txt here. So how this command actually works? So this command will basically delete the file from your desktop and it will copy the file and it will paste it into your new folder, that is the download folder. So far we have discussed the touch command, ls command, pwd command, cp command and mv command. Now let's discuss about the rm command. That what is rm command and why we use it. rm command is used to remove the files or delete the files from your folder or from your directory. So as we know that we have new file.txt here in my downloads folder. So if I write here rm and write here the file and write here the name of the file, that is the new file.txt, and hit enter. If I ls here again, and you can see that the new file.txt is removed from the downloads folder. So the rm command is used to remove the files. So now let's go back to our desktop folder and discuss about the mkdir command. The mkdir command is used to create the directories. So if we write on the terminal mkdir and write here test, and you can see that a new test directory is created on my desktop. So this is the test directory that is in the blue color. And if you want to remove this directory, then you have to write here rm-r and now write the name of the directory, that is test, and you can see that the directory is removed successfully. So these are some of the common commands that we can use in Linux Mint, and the next command that we will discuss is the link command. So a link is an entry in your file system which connects a file name to the actual bytes of data on the disk. So in order to create a link between two files, we have to write on the terminal ln, and if I want to create a link of the file, then I have to write the name of the file here and now write the name of the new file that you want to link with this file. For example, test file.txt. It has not shown any error. It means that the link is created successfully. So if I write here cat test file.txt, and you can see that we do not have any data into this file, and if I cat new file.txt, and we can also see that we do not have any data in this file. So if I open this file new file.txt and write something here linuxmint and save this file and cat and use the above command again, so it has the content linuxmint. And similarly, if I print the content of this file, and you can see that it also have the linuxmint. So what I did, I opened up the new file, I wrote some text into the new file, and this text was also present in the test file.txt because these files have a link in between. So if I delete this file new file.txt, so you can see that the test file is also removed. So by using the copy command, we can copy the files, we can copy the directories. By using the move mv command, we can move the files from one directory to another. By using the touch command, we can create the files, and by using the pwd command, we can see the present working directory, and by the ls command, we can see the files and the folders that are present into a directory. And by using the link command, we can link the files. So I hope you have got the point, and I hope you are now familiar with these commands. So that's it for this topic. Alright, now let's move on to the next topic, that is file permissions and how to change them, what they mean. In this topic we will discuss about these things. Linux Mint is a multi-user operating system which can be accessed by many users simultaneously. Linux can also be used in mainframes and servers without any modification. but it raises the security concerns because a user can corrupt, change or remove the crucial data. So for the effective security, the Linux divides the authorization into two levels, that are ownership and the permission. So the concept of permission and the ownership is crucial in Linux. So in this topic we will discuss that how we can change the permissions, what they mean, and what are the file permissions overall. So first of all, let's discuss about the ownership of the files. So in order to see the ownership of the files, let me create a file here on my desktop, file.txt. Alright, a file is created. So write on your terminal ls-l and it will show the ownership of the files. So this is the first file, file.txt, and this is the second file, that is topics.odt. Every file and directory on your Linux system is assigned three types of owners. The first type of owner is a user, which essentially creates a file. A user is the owner of the file. By default, the person who created a file becomes its owner. Hence, a user is also sometimes called an owner. Here, this portion or the first portion is associated with the owner, and the file permissions or the privileges that are granted to the user or owner are written here. For example, in this case, the file.txt, the owner has read and write permission. The R shows the read permission and the W shows the write permission. The second type of user is a group user. A user group can contain multiple users. All users belonging to a group will have the same access permissions to the file. Suppose you have a project where a number of people require access to a file. Instead of manually assigning permissions to each user, you could add all users to a group and assign group permissions to files such that only this group members and no one else can read or modify the files. So the second portion is for the group, and here we can see that the group has only the read permission. And the third portion is for the other, any other user who has access to a file. This person has neither created the file nor he belongs to a user group who could own the file, but practically it means everybody else. So hence when you set the permission for other, it is also referred as set of permissions for the word. And this is the file permission group for the others. So here we can see that it has R. It means that the other people have only the read permission for this file. So if we create a directory here, mkdir test directory and ls-l here. So now you can see that we have test directory here and it has specified D here. It means that it is a directory. So now let's talk about the privileges of reading, writing and execution. So first of all, let's discuss about the read. This permission gives you the authority to open and read a file. Read permission on a directory gives you the ability to list all its content. The write permission gives you the authority to modify the contents of a file. The write permission on a directory gives you the authority to add, remove and rename files stored in the directory. So here X shows the executable permission. It means that the user group or the other people can execute this file. So now it is clear that what are the ownerships of the file and what are the permissions of the file. If you want to change the permissions of the file, then you have to write here chmod. If you want to eliminate the writing privileges from the user, then you can write here u-w and now write the name of the file, that is file.txt, and if I ls-l here again, and you can see that now the user do not have the writing privileges for this file. So this is how we can change the permissions of a file. So there are two ways to use the chmod command in the Linux Mint. The first is the absolute mode and the second is the symbolic mode. Absolute mode is the numeric mode. In this mode, file permissions are not represented as characters but a 3-digit octal number. So if you want to give a file no permission, then you can write here chmod 0 file.txt and you can see that the file has no permission now. But if you want to give the file the execution permission or the X permission, then you can write here chmod 1 and the name of the file, that is file.txt, and now you can see that the file has the X permission for the other people. But if you want to allow this permission for all type of users, then you have to write here 111 and now you will see that it has the executable permission for all type of user. So when you write the 111 on the terminal, it specifies the all type of users like user, groups and the other people. And similarly, if you want to give the right permission to your file, you can write here 22 and it will give the right permission to all the people, your user and the group people, to write this file. -L. So here you can see that now it has only the right permission. And similarly, if we write 3 here, then it will give the execute plus write permission here. Now it has executable and writing permission. And if we write 4 here, then it will give the read permission, and the 5 will give the read plus executable permission. The 6 will give the read plus write permission. But if you want to give all type of permissions like read, write, execute to your user, your group and the other people, then you can write here 7. Like chmod 777 file.txt, and now you can see that it has read, write, executable permission for the user, read, write, executable permission for the group, and read, write, executable permission for the other people or for the other word. So this was about the absolute mode, that how we can choose the absolute mode to change the file permissions. So now let's talk about the symbolic mode. You can change the permission for all 3 owners. In the symbolic mode, you can modify the permissions of a specific owner. It makes use of the mathematical symbols to modify the file permissions. Like the plus operator adds a permission to a file or a directory. So if I do here chmod 0 file.txt, it means that this file has no permission. So now let's see about the symbolic mode. If you want to give it a writing permission, then you can write here user plus writing permission file.txt, and you can see that now the user has the writing permission. And similarly for the group, you have to write here g, and you can see that now it has writing permission for the group as well. And for the other people, you can write here O, and it will give the permissions for the other people, that is the writing permission. And similarly, if you want to eliminate some permissions, then you can write here chmod u-w, and it will eliminate the writing permissions from the user. And now you can see that the user do not have the writing permissions. So this was all about the ownership and the permissions of the file, that what are the permissions, how we can change them and what they mean. So I hope you have got the point, and that's it for this topic. Now let's move on to the next topic, that is adding users to the system. And it is the topic number 17 of our course. Let me just bold this topic. Linux Mint is a multi-user system, which means that more than one person can interact with the same system. So the system administrator have the responsibility to manage the system users by creating and removing users. So if you are using the Linux Mint, it is quite necessary to have knowledge on managing the user's account on the system. In the case of Linux Mint, it is very simple. So there are 2 ways to add new users into your Linux Mint system. The one is through the command line and the second is from the GUI. And first we will see that how we can add a user into the Linux Mint system by using the terminal. So first of all, fire up the terminal and write here sudo -s. Enter your sudo password here. So after executing this command sudo -s, you are into the root mode. So in order to add a new user account into your Linux Mint system, write here add user. And now you have to write the name of the user that you want to create, and it could be any name. Like in this case, I am writing here test user. Hit enter. And it is adding the user, which is the test user. Now you have to enter the new Unix password for this user. Okay, retype the new Unix password. Now you will be asked for a lot of information about the specific user account. You can decide whether you want to enter them or not. And if you want to skip it, then press enter. And if you want to add the full name of the user, then add it here, test user 1. Okay. And if I want to skip this room number information, then hit enter. Hit enter. If the information is correct and you want to add this user, then press Y here. Otherwise, you have to press N. So in my case, the information is correct. Alright, the user is added. And the second way of adding the user in Linux Mint is using the GUI. And it is quite easy and user-friendly way. So for adding the user through your GUI, go to the app menu and search here user and groups. Open this, enter your sudo password. So here you can see that the user that we have added through the terminal is present here, that is test user 1. So if you want to add a new user, then click here on add. Choose the account type. It could be the standard user like the normal user, or it could be the administrator. And if you want to make this user administrator, then you have to select this option. Now enter the full name, test user 2 and test, and the username is test user 2. Okay. Click on add. And you can see that the user is added here, but it has not asked for the password. So in order to set the password for this user, click here and enter the new password for this user. Confirm new password and click here on change. Okay, the second user is added successfully, and from here you can edit the information of this user. For example, if you want to make the test user 1 administrator, then you can select here administrator, and from here you can update the picture of the user, and here you have the option of the groups. So from here you can create a group for the users. Similarly, removing or deleting the user is very simple. In order to delete any user, you just have to click here delete, and the user will be deleted successfully. And now you can see that the test user 2 is deleted successfully. So if I restart my system, when you restart your system, you have a list of all the users that you have added into your system. So here I have test user 1 and the linuxmint user, and if I want to log in from this user, so I will enter the password of this user, and it is the welcome screen of my test user 1. And here you can see that I do not have the files here on my desktop which I have created for the linuxmint user, and similarly the files that I will create for this user will not be available to the linuxmint user. So that is how you can add new user and manage the new users on your Linux Mint system. Now let's move on to the next topic, that is creating the secure password rules, and it is essentially the topic number 18. Having the secure password for your Linux based system or for any system for any digital devices is very important, because the password is the key to your system. If you are having a less secure password, then it is very easy to break, and anyone can break your password and can access to your system or your digital devices. So creating the secure password rules is very necessary, and it will keep your Linux Mint system more secure. So now let's see that how we can create the secure password rules in your Linux Mint system. Normally on your Linux based operating system, when you are entering the password, then it is more concerned about the length of the password. But a strong password should contain an uppercase letter, a lowercase letter, a digital and a symbols as well. And the length of the password is also a concern, but the uppercase, lowercase, digits and symbols should also be the part of your secure password. And if your password is contained all these things, then we can say that it is a secure password. So to create a secure password for your Linux system, we have to enforce a secure password policy. We will use the PW quality module of PAM. So to install this module on your Linux Mint system, first of all, you have to open up your terminal by using the Ctrl-Alt-T shortcut, or you can open it in either way. Then you have to run the following command on the terminal, that is sudo apt-install lib, that is the short form for the library, PAM, and here you have to write PW quality. So after writing the command, hit enter, enter your sudo password here. Alright, the pw quality library is successfully installed on my Linux Mint system. So in order to enforce the secure password rules, we have to access the common password file. So to access the common password file, write here sudo nano etc pam.d and common password. So open it up. So this is the file, and here you have to look for this line. So we have to edit this line or change this line to enforce the secure password policies. So here you can see that initially the no policies for the secure passwords are enabled. Only a user can give a try for the password for 3 times. So there are multiple parameters that we can use to create a secure password policy. So let's see these parameters. So first of all, the parameter is retry. So when you write the retry, then you have to define a number, and it shows the number of consecutive times a user can enter an incorrect password. Then the next is the minimum length. This parameter shows the minimum length of the password. So we will define a minimum length of the password. Then you have this parameter, that is dafok. It shows the number of characters that can be similar to the old password. Then we have the lc credit, and it shows the minimum number of lowercase letters. And then we have the uc credit, and it shows the minimum number of the uppercase letters. Then we have d credit, that shows the minimum number of the digits. And then we have the o credit, that shows the number of symbols, the minimum number of the symbols. So if you want to reject a username, then you can use this parameter, that is reject_username. It rejects the password that is containing the username, a specific username. And lastly, we have a parameter that is enforce for root, and it enforces the policy for the root user. So now by considering these parameters, we will edit our file and we will create the secure password policies. So open up your terminal again. So to change the retry to the 4, if you want to allow the user to retry the incorrect password for the 4 times, then you can replace this 3 with 4 or with any number. Now let's define the minimum length of the password. So to define the minimum length of the password, we have to use here min_len, that is the shortcut for the minimum length. And now define the minimum length, and in my case I am defining here 7. And now I have to define that there should be minimum 2 number of lowercase letters. So to define that, write here L credit. So if you have to assign minimum number of lowercase letters 2, then you have to write here is equal to -2. And similarly, it should have a minimum number of the uppercase letters, which is equal to 2. So for this purpose, I will write here U credit, which is equal to -2. And if you want to include some digits or symbol in your passwords, then you can write here D credit and define the value of the digits here, that is any number like 2 digits. And similarly, you can define the minimum number of symbols by writing here O credit, which is equal to -1. Like there should be 1 symbol in your password. But in my case, I am not using this O credit and D credit. I will use the UC credit, the minimum length of the password, and the minimum length should be the 7. So after defining the policies and changing these lines, you have to save this file. So to save this file, you have to press Ctrl X. Now press Y and hit enter, and the file is successfully saved. Now we have to test the secure password policy that we have created. So after configuring the secure password policy, it is better to verify whether it is working or not. So to verify this, let's create a new user. Write here sudo user add, and now write the name of the user, that is test user, and hit enter. Alright, the user is created successfully, and now we have to set the password for this user. So in order to set the password, write here sudo password passwd. It is the short form for the password. And now write the name of the user, that is test user, and hit enter. So now enter the new password. So to verify the secure password policies, set a simple password that does not fulfill the configured secure password policy requirement. So I am entering here 12121. And you can see that it has written here, this is the bad password and the password is palindrome. Okay. So now we have to retype new password 12121. Okay. So now we have to re-enter the new password. So now let's enter the new password with the defined policies, like there should be minimum 2 lowercase letters, 2 uppercase letters, and the minimum length of the password should be 7. So I am going to enter the password according to the defined policies. And now you see that it does not show any warning like it is a bad password or it is not a secure password. Now it says that, okay, the password matches the password policies that we have defined. So therefore it does not show any error. And now we have to retype the new password. And you can see that the password is updated successfully for the new user. You can also configure the password expiration period. Changing the password at regular interval help limits the password of unauthorized use of the passwords. Password expiration policy can be configured through the /etc/login.defs file. So run the following command to edit this file. Right here on your terminal, sudo nano /etc/login.defs. So the file is opened up here on my Linux Mint system. So here you can see that the password max days are these and the password minimum days are these, and this is the password warn age, that is 7. So you can change it. So if you want to set that the password max days should be 7, then write here 7. So in my case I am writing here 30 days is the normal period for a password and the minimum days is 0. So after changing these, you have to press Ctrl S, then you have to press Y and save this file. The changes are saved. So these policies will only apply on the newly created user. To apply this policy to an existing user, you have to use the change command, CHAGE command. So for example, to view the current password expiry or aging details of your current user, write on your terminal sudo CHAGE-L, and now write here the name of the user, that is linuxmint in my case. The password expires never because the policies are not applicable on this user, and the password interactive is never. So these are the details that you will get on your terminal. So to configure the maximum number of days after which a user should change the password for your existing user, you have to write here sudo and now write here -m and define the number of days like 30, and now write the name of your user, that is linuxmint. And if I run the above command again, now you can see that the maximum number of days between the password change is 30. Now these policies are applicable on my existing user. So this is how you can create the secure password policies, and you can enforce these password policies on your existing users and the newly created user. I hope you got the point and you have learned about this topic, and that's it for this topic. Now let's move on to the next topic, that is checking the system utilization. The system utilization includes the memory utilization and the CPU utilization. So understanding the CPU processor usage and the memory usage on your Linux Mint system is important for overall system performance. If the memory usage or the CPU usage is exceeding the threshold and it is increasing, then it can create a bottleneck and it can slow down your system. So checking the system utilization and maintaining the system utilization is very important. So in this topic, we will see multiple commands that we can use to check the system utilization, and moreover, we will discuss a graphical tool that we can use to check the system utilization. So first of all, we will talk about some terminal based commands. So the first command that we are going to discuss is top command to view the Linux CPU load and the memory usage. So in order to run the top command, open up your terminal. and write on the terminal top, and this command will show all the processes that are running on your system, and it will show that how much the CPU and the memory is utilized by all the processes. We will discuss the top command in detail in later topics, but here we have to discuss the CPU usage and the memory usage per process by using the top command. So here you can see that there are multiple processes that are listed down on the terminal, and each process is consuming some CPU and the memory. For example, if we talk about any particular process, like the first process that is 1537, it is consuming 1.7% CPU of your system, and it has taken 4.1% memory of your system. And on the top we can see that there are total 155 processes. 2 of them are running, 122 are sleeping, and we can see the memory usage as well here, that this is the total memory, this is the free memory, and this is the used memory. And similarly we have the CPU stats as well here. So this is how you can use the top command. The list of the processes is frequently changing, so as the background tasks start and complete, we can use the top command with -i option. It will hide all the idle processes and it will make easier to sort through the list. So let me just run the top command with the -i parameter. So now you can see that it is not showing the idle processes, and here we have some processes that are frequently running on my system. The first process is 1537. It is taking 4% CPU of the system, and the memory that it is taking is 4.1%. So in this way you can use the top command. So to quit the top function you have to press Q on your keyboard, and you can see that it has quit the top command. There are multiple parameters and options available that we can use with the top command. For example, we can see the man page of the top command, and here it will list down multiple options that we can use with the top command. So these are the options here. You can further explore about the top command by viewing these options and exploring these options. The next command that we are going to discuss for checking the system utilization is the mpstat command. The mpstat command is used to display the CPU activity, and mpstat is the part of a software bundle that we call sysctl. So in order to use the mpstat command on your Linux Mint system, first of all we have to install the sysctl on our system, and we can install it with the simple command that is sudo apt-get install sudo apt-get install sysctl. Enter your sudo password here. The sysctl is installed successfully on my Linux Mint system. Now we can run the mpstat command in terminal. So right here on your terminal, mpstat, and now the system displays the usage for each processor. The first line here is a set of column labels, and the second line is the value for each column. The first column, that is USR, it shows the CPU usage at the user level. The second column shows the percentage CPU usage for each processor labeled nice. The third column, that is sys column, it shows the percentage CPU usage at the system level. We can say at the Linux kernel level. The fourth column, that is IO weight. The IO weight column shows the percentage CPU usage that is waiting on a disk read and write. The next column shows the percentage CPU usage that is handling the hardware interrupts. The soft column shows the percentage CPU usage that is handling the software interrupts. And the steel column shows the percentage CPU usage being forced to wait for a hypervisor handling other virtual processes. The guest column shows the percentage of CPU usage that is spent on running a virtual processor. And lastly, the idle column shows the percentage CPU usage on idle time when there is no processes and no waiting on a disk read and write. And in the second line we have the values for each columns. We can use multiple options and parameters with the mpstat command. For example, we can use -p and it will allow you to specify a single processor to report. So right here on your terminal, mpstat -p 0. So now it is showing the information of the single processor. And if you want to see the information of all the processors, then you have to write here -p and all. So that was it about the mpstat command, that how you can use the mpstat command to check the system utilization or the CPU utilization on your Linux Mint system. The next command that we are going to discuss is the sar command, and it is used to show the CPU utilization. The sar tool is a utility for managing the system resources. It is not limited strictly to the CPU usage, but you can choose the multiple options to track CPU performance. So for example, you can write on your terminal sar-u6 and it will show you the CPU usage at the set interval, that is 6. The -u option tells it to display the CPU usage, and the 6 display that it should display every 6 seconds. So this will run indefinitely. So to cancel it, you have to press Ctrl+C. We can also use the iostat command to see the statistics of the CPU and memory. So write here iostat, and you can see that we have multiple devices that are listed down here, and it shows that how much total KBs are written into the disk and how much KBs a disk is reading. And on the top you have the average CPU, and here the usage of the CPU is 20.95%. and the idle CPU is 74.98. And similarly, we have multiple devices that are listed down here, and these are the devices that are integrated into my system. So these were all the terminal based commands that we can use on the Linux Mint to check the system utilization. Now let's talk about some graphical utility option or some graphical utility tool. In the Linux Mint, we have a graphical utility that is the system monitor, and it shows the system utilization in a graphical way. So to launch this tool, right here on your terminal gnome-system and monitor. So hit enter. So this is the graphical view of this tool. And here you have multiple processes that are running on your Linux Mint system. And the second column shows the name of the user who has initiated this process. The third column shows the CPU percentage that is used by this particular process. The fourth column shows the ID. Each process has a specific ID, and the next column shows the memory, that how much memory is consumed by this process. And similarly, we have multiple columns here that shows the disk read total, disk write total, disk read and disk write. And lastly, we have the priority that is assigned to each process. So there are many ways to check the system utilization on your Linux Mint system. So these were some common ways that we discussed in this topic. And that's it for this topic. Alright, so our next topic is monitoring the disk space and searching for the files. And it is essentially the topic number 20. So we are going to discuss about it now. Monitoring the disk space and searching for the file is very easy in Linux Mint. So in order to monitor the disk space, we have multiple utilities already available in the Linux Mint. So to monitor the disk space, you have to go to the app menu and search here for the disk, and you will see two applications that are available here, and these are Disk Usage Analyzer and the disk. So in any case, if you have not installed this utility on your Linux Mint system, then you can install it by using this command. So this is the command to install the disk utility on your system. Linux Mint comes up with this utility, but in case if you do not have this utility on your Linux Mint, then it will be installed by using this command. So there are multiple ways to monitor the disk space. So we will discuss them one by one. So the first method is gonna be through the GUI tool, that is the disk tool. Okay, so open up this application. So here you have the total information of your disk size. Like the total disk size is 16 GB and 9 GB is free, which is approximately 44.4% is full, and the else is remaining. So this is the first way to analyze the disk space. The second tool for monitoring the disk space is a disk usage analyzer. So you can go to the app menu and search for this tool and open it up. So here you have the information that the total disk space is 15.8, that is approximately 16 GB, and 9 GB memory is available. And we have a home folder here, and if we click here, we will find the further information here. So you can see that now you have the more detail about your disk. So these were the two graphical tools to analyze the disk space on your Linux Mint system. Now we will talk about some terminal commands. There are multiple commands available to see the disk space on your Linux Mint system, but the most common command is the df command that we will discuss now. The df command displays the information of device name, total blocks, total space, and use space on your system. We can write df on the terminal to see the total disk space and the available disk space. So it shows the information into the kilobytes, and this is our main disk, that is dev//sta1, and it shows the information that how much disk is used and how much is available. So if you want to see this information in megabytes, then you have to write here df-m, and it will show the information in megabytes. Now you can see that there are total 15,053 MBs on my disk, and 6,517 are used, and 7,753 megabytes are available. So total memory that is used is 46%. There are multiple options and parameters available that we can use with the df command, and if you want to read the disk information in the human readable way, then you have to write on your terminal df-h, and it will show the information in human readable way. So now you can see that the total disk space is 15 gigabytes and the total use space is 6.4 gigabytes. Available is 7.6 and 46% is used. So that is how you can use df command to explore the disk space or to check the disk space on your Linux Mint system. Now we will discuss that how we can search for files or find the files on Linux Mint system. We can find the files in multiple ways. Like we can go to the app menu and write here the name of the file that you want to find. For example, if I want to find a file that is topics.odt, so it will display the file here and I can open it up easily. But we can also use a command to find the files, and the command that we will use is a find command. This is the easiest command we can use for finding a file is by a specific name in a directory. The advantage of this command is that bash will find the file even if it is present in one of the recursive directories inside the past directory path. So in order to find a file, we have to write on a terminal find, and if you want to find the file by the name, then you have to write here -name, and now write the name of the file, that is topics.odt. And you can see that it has printed here that the file is present on the desktop. And similarly, if I want to find some file into the downloads folder, I will write here cd downloads. I have navigated to the downloads folder, and here we have to write find -name, and I have a file here that is readme.txt. It has not printed the path of the file here. It means that the file is not present into the downloads folder. And similarly, if you want to find multiple files, then you can find it through the extension. For example, if you want to find all ODT files, then you have to write here find -name steric.odt. So this steric will search for all the ODT files. And here you can see that it has printed the path of 2 files here on my terminal. There are multiple parameters and the options that are available for the find command. We can see the man page of the find command. So here we can see that we have multiple parameters available that we can use with the find command. So that is how you can see the disk space and search for the files on your Linux Mint system. And that's it for this topic. Now let's move on to the next topic, that is overview of the directory tree, and it is essentially the topic number 21. So in this topic we will learn that how to view the directory structure using the tree command, and this command will display the contents of a directory in a tree-like format. You will might think that why we need to see the directory tree, because we also have the ls command to see the contents of a directory in a list form. But tree command is a recursive directory listing program and it produces a depth intended listing of files. It is quite useful to find the directories that contains a lot of subdirectories and files in Linux Mint system. So the directory tree will show all the subdirectories and the files that are present in a particular directory. So basically by using the directory tree or by viewing the information through the directory tree, you will get to know about your system. It will help you in finding the files as well. And you can get to know about the subdirectories of your Linux Mint system. So in order to view the directory tree in your Linux Mint system, we need to install the tree command. Tree command is available in the default repositories of Linux Mint. So it can be installed with a simple command. So in order to install the tree command on your Linux Mint system, open up your terminal. And write here on your terminal sudo apt install tree. Enter your sudo password here. Alright, the tree command is installed successfully, and you can also use this command sudo apt-get install tree to install the tree command on your Linux Mint system. So as we have installed the tree command, now let's see that how we can use this command. So if you run the tree command without any parameter on your terminal, then it will display all the contents of the current working directory in a tree-like format. So the current working directory is linuxmint. That is my home directory, and in this home directory I have multiple directories that are desktop, documents, downloads, music, pictures, public, templates and videos. And it is also showing the files that are present in a directory. For example, on desktop directory I have topics.odt, so you can see that it has topics.odt here. And similarly in the downloads folder I have a file that is findme.txt, so it has listed down here findme.txt. So when you use the tree command and see then you can easily get the information of your Linux Mint system. And at the end it has printed the number of total directories, that are 8 directories, and there are total 2 files. So in this way you can use the tree command to see the tree structure of your directories. If this command does not show the structure of the tree in a colored format, then you can use the -c option or -c parameter to see the information in a colored format. So there is no difference in the output because it was also showing the information before in a colored format. So when it shows the information in the colored format, then we can easily distinguish the directories and files. So now we can easily distinguish the directories and files, that the files are in the white color and the directories are listed down in the blue color. You can also list the files of the specific directory in a tree-like format. For example, if you run this command tree/etc, so it will list down the subdirectories of the etc directory and files in a tree-like format. So we have a long list here of directories and files. So there are 366 directories and 2620 files are present in the etc directory. So by default the tree will not list the hidden files, but if you want to list the hidden files as well, then you have to use -a parameter like tree -a. Now hit enter, and now you can see that it is showing the hidden files as well. Because when we ran this command earlier, then it only shows the 8 directories and 2 files. And now you can see that it is showing the multiple files as well. So now it shows 136 directories and 95 files. And we can also do it for the etc directory. And now in the etc directory we have 375 directories and 2630 files. All the command that we have used list the subdirectories and files. But if you want to list only the directories, then you can use the -d parameter, like tree -d. So now it shows only the directories and it is not showing the files here. And similarly, we can run it for the etc. And now it only shows the directories that are 366 directories. So this is how you can use the tree command to see the directory tree and the information of subdirectories and files. You can use this command when you want to view the contents of the directories that have tons of other files and folders nested inside their folders. So this is a useful command to use on your Linux Mint system. And that's it for this topic. Now let's move on to the next topic, that is topic number 22, and it is mounting the disk systems. So in this topic we will see that how we can mount the disks in Linux Mint. So for a mounting process we use a command that is a mount command, and all files in a Linux file system are arranged in a form of a big tree that is rooted at /. These files can be spread out on various devices based on your partition table. So initially your parent directory is mounted to this tree at /, and others can be mounted manually using the GUI interface or using the mount command. So the mount command is used to mount the file system that is found on a device to a big tree structure like Linux file system that is rooted at /. So other command unmount can be used to detach these devices from the tree. So the mount command is used to attach the devices from the tree, and the unmount command is used to detach these devices from the tree. Now let's discuss the syntax of the mount command. I'm gonna write the syntax of the mount command on the terminal, and the syntax is very simple. In order to use the mount command, you have to write here mount -t. Now you have to write the type and device, and now you have to write the directory. So in this way you can write this command and you can mount the devices and directories into the big tree of your Linux Mint system. So these commands tell the kernel to attach the file system that is found at device to the directory. If you leave the dir part of the syntax, then it will look for a mount point in /etc/fs tab. You can use the -source or -target to avoid the ambiguousness in interpretation. So what is the /etc/fs tab? It usually contains the information about which device is need to be mounted where, and most of the devices are indicated by files like dev/sta1 and sta4 etc. But it can be different for certain file systems. So if you want to see the devices information on your Linux Mint system, then you have to write here df-h, and it will show you the file system. And you can see that I have two devices here, that is /dev/sta1, and its size is 15 gigabytes and the used memory is 6.7 and the available is 7.3 gigabytes. And similarly the second device that I have is dev/sr0. Its size is 57 megabytes and the 57 megabytes is used. So it shows the information of file system on your Linux Mint system. And lastly we have a column here that is the mounted on, and you can see that what devices are mounted where. There are some important options that we can choose with the mount command, and I will discuss these options one by one. So the first option is -l. It lists all the file system that is mounted yet. The -h option displays the options for command. The -v option displays the version information. The -a mounts all devices that are described at /etc/fs tab. The small t shows the type of file system devices. The capital T describe an alternative fs tab file, and the R is for read-only mode mounted. So now let's see a couple of examples at how we can use the mount command. So you can mount a file system. For this purpose, write here sudo mount /dev/sta1, and if we want to mount the media, then we have to write here media linuxmint. That is essentially my username, and it will mount the information. And similarly we can write here sta4, and you can see that the special device sta4 does not exist on my system. If you want to see the version information of the mount command, then you can write here sudo mount -v, and it will show the information of the version of the mount command, that is mount from util Linux, that is 2.31.1, and similarly you can use the unmount command to unmount the files. So for the unmount purpose you have to write unmount and now write the name of the device defsr0. Excuse me for this. For the unmount you have to write here umount and it will unmount the device. So I hope you got the point. Alright, so now let's move on to the next topic, that is proc file system. The proc file system contains an illusionary file system. It does not exist on a disk. Instead, the kernel creates it in memory. The proc file system contains an illusionary file system. It does not exist on a disk. Instead, the kernel creates it in memory. It is used to provide information about the system. Like as the name suggests, it is about the processes. So the proc file system is virtual file system that is created on fly when system boots and it is dissolved at the time of system shutdown. It contains the useful information about the processes that are currently running. It is regarded as control and information center for kernel. The proc file system also provides communication medium between kernel space and user space. So basically it deals with the processes and lists down the processes and contains the information of the processes on your Linux Mint system. And we will see the details of the processes, that how we can list down the processes, how we can see the details of the processes in the topic number 26, that is terminating processes with kill. So in this topic we are gonna have an overview of the proc file system, that what it is and why we use it. So if you open up your terminal and write here ls-l/proc. So this is the snapshot of proc from my PC, that is Linux Mint. So if you want to list the directories, you will find that for each process ID of a process, there is a dedicated directory. You can check directories only on terminal using this command ls-l/proc grep. So now it is showing the information of the directories. For each PID of a process, there is a dedicated directory. Now let's check for particular process of assigned process ID. You can get the process ID of any running process from the ps command, like ps-aux, and here you will get the process ID for each process. For example, we select this process, that is 1587. So to check the entry of a specific or specified process ID in your proc file system, you have to write on your terminal ls-ltr proc and now you have to write the process ID. For example, we have selected this process, that is 1587. So this is the output. In Linux, the proc includes a directory for each running process. It includes the kernel processes in directory that is named as proc PID. So there are multiple directories that are present. So for example, to see the command line arguments, we have to write on the terminal cat/proc, and now you have to write the process ID like 1587 cmt line, and it will show the command line arguments. There are also other files in the proc file system. So if you want to see the information of each of the logical disk devices, then you have to write on your terminal cat/proc disk stats, and it shows the information for each of the logical disk devices. And similarly, you can see the information of the file systems as well. So this is the information of the proc file system, and to see the memory information, you have to write on your terminal mem info, that is memory information, and now it shows the memory information. Similarly, we can see the CPU information as well. So now it shows the CPU information. So this is the proc file system, that is virtual file system, which is created when your system boots, and it ends when a system is shut down. So it contains the very useful information about the processes that are currently running, and it is regarded as a control and information center for your kernel. So that is about the proc file system, and we will see the detail of the processes in the topic number 26, that is terminating and killing the processes. And in this topic I will list down that how you can see your processes and how you can kill them. So that's it for this topic. Alright, the next topic is grep, apt-key and set command. These commands are very important. They help us to perform some operations on the Linux based systems or Linux Mint system, and these commands are really useful. So let's see that what are these commands and how we can use them. First of all, we are going to discuss about the grep command. So in order to use the grep command, open up your terminal. The grep command searches a file for a particular pattern of characters, and it displays all the lines that contain this pattern. The pattern that is searched in the file is referred to as the regular expression, and we can use the grep command to search for the pattern or search for the words or lines or sentences into the file. Grep command is really easy to use. So first of all, let me create a txt file to demonstrate the usage of grep command to you. So let's navigate to the desktop and to create a new file, that is myfile.txt. Alright, the file is created, and now let me put some data into this file like linuxmint, and welcome to the linuxmint. Alright, so we have saved this file. So this is the data that is present into this file. So in order to use the grep command, we have to write on the terminal grep. And now I want to search some pattern or some word into the file that we have created, that is myfile.txt. For example, I want to search linuxmint, and now write the name of the file, and you can see that it has printed here linuxmint. And in the file we have some letters in which the L of the linuxmint is capital and the H for the hint is capital. So it has not shown these because this is the case sensitive. So if you want to ignore the case sensitivity, then you can use the -i option. It enables to search for a string case insensitively in the grep file. So it will match the words like linuxmint and it will print it on the terminal. So if I run this command with -i option, so now you can see that it has printed the linuxmint with the capital L and with the capital H as well. So now we have the 4 linuxmint output on our terminal. So if we compare it with the previous command, so it shows the 2 output on the terminal. So if you want to display the count of numbers of the matches, then we can find the number of lines that matches the given string or pattern by choosing the -c option. So if I write here -c, so it will count the matching of the pattern, and you can see that it has printed here 2 because it has considered it case sensitive. So if I write here -i, and let's try whether it works or not. So now it has printed here 4. So that is how you can search for a specific word or pattern into a file. And if you do not know about the file and you want to display the file name that matches the pattern, then we can do it. So for this purpose we have to write here grep-l linuxmint static. So now it will search for the files, and it has written here myfile.txt that this is the file which contains this word. So grep command make our life very easier if you have to search something on your Linux Mint system and if you have to search for a specific pattern on your Linux Mint system. By default, the grep matches the given string or pattern even if it found as a substring in a file. The -w option to grep make it match only the whole words. So if we write here grep -w, myfile.txt. So these are the lines which contain the linuxmint. And if you want to show the number of lines that which contain this pattern, so you can use the -n option. And now you can see that the number 1 line, that is linuxmint, it contains the matching pattern, and the number 4th line, that is welcome to the linuxmint, contains the matching pattern. So this is how you can use the grep command, and you can explore more about the grep command, and a lot of information of the grep command is present on the internet. Now let's talk about the apt-key command. The apt-key command is a scripting language that is used for manipulating data and generating reports. The apt-key command programming language requires no compilers and allows the user to use variables, numeric functions, string functions, and logical operators. So apt-key is a utility that enables a programmer to write tiny but effective programs in the form of statements that define text patterns that are to be searched for in each line of a document, and the action that is to be taken when the match is found within a line. So apt-key is mostly used for pattern scanning and processing. It searches one or more files to see if they contain lines that match with the specified pattern, and then perform the associated actions. So the apt-key performs the following operations, that are: scans a file line by line, split each input line into the fields, it compares the input line fields to a pattern, and perform action on matched lines. It is useful for transformation of data files, and it produces formatted reports. So if we go back to our file and insert some data, that John is a manager at linuxmint, Kamran is a manager at tsep, Mateen is accounts manager. So if we insert these lines, now we can see that how we can use the apt-key command. So if I write here on my terminal apt-key print myfile.txt, so it will print the whole file. So there is no pattern that is given in this command, so the actions are applicable to all the lines. Action print without any argument print the whole line by default, so it prints all the lines of the file without any failure. So now let's see that how we can print the lines which matches with the given pattern. So if we want to print the lines which matches with the given pattern, so we have to write here apt-key, and if I want to search for the linuxmint pattern, linuxmint print myfile.txt, so now you can see that it has printed the pattern that contains the linuxmint. And similarly, we can print the information or the pattern for the manager that we have added into the file. And now you can see that it prints here that John is a manager at linuxmint, Kamran is a manager at tsep, and Mateen is an accounts manager. So this is how you can use apt-key to print the lines which matches with the given pattern. The next command that we are going to discuss is sct command. The sct command in Linux, it stands for the stream editor, and it can perform lots of functions on file like searching, find and replace, insertion or deletion. Most common use of sct command in Linux is for substitution or find and replace. By using the sct, you can edit files even without opening it, which is much quicker way to find and replace something in file than first opening that file in editor and then changing it. So sct is a powerful text stream editor that can do insertion, deletion, search and replace. This command supports regular expression, which allows it to perform complex pattern matching. So now let's see some practical demonstration of sct command, that how we can use this command. Consider this file again. So we have to replace a string in this file, and let me just close this file. So sct command is mostly used to replace the text in a file. So in order to replace a text, we have to write here sct s, and if I want to remove the linuxmint with the lh, then I will write here linuxmint, and now we have to write that we want to replace with like lh, and now specify the name of the file, that is myfile.txt, and you can see that it has replaced the linuxmint with the lh. So in this command, the s specifies the substitution operation and the backslash are delimiters. The linuxmint is the search pattern and the lh is the replacement string. So by default, the std command replaces the first occurrence of the pattern in each line, and it won't replace the second, third occurrence in the line. So if you want to replace a specific occurrence or nth occurrence of a pattern in a line, so we can use the numbers for it. For example, if you want to replace the second occurrence in the line, then you have to write here 2 and it will replace the second occurrence. And if we want to replace all the occurrences, then we have to write here g and it will replace all the occurrences. So this was an overview of the sct command. So in this topic we have seen that what is the grep command, awk and sct command. So that was a brief introduction of these commands, and you can explore more about these commands by searching on the internet. So that's it for this topic. Now let's move on to the next topic, that is checking the system log files. Log files provide a timeline of events for the Linux operating system, applications and system, and it is a valuable troubleshooting tool when you encounter issues. Log files help you to see the errors that are occurred in your system. So if you are a programmer or Linux administrator, then analyzing the log file is the first thing that you will do when an issue is discovered. So for the desktop app specific issues, log files are written to different locations. For example, Chrome writes the crash report in a different folder, where a desktop application writes log depends on the developer and if the app allows for the custom log configuration. So there are some most important Linux Mint logs. Most directories can be grouped into 1 or 4 categories. Like there are 4 types of categories of logs. They are application logs, they are event logs, service logs and the system logs. So in the Linux Mint, the log files can be found in a convenient location. We are going to discuss about this location now. The log files are present in this folder. So this is the location of the log files on your Linux Mint system. So if we ls here, you can see that we have different log files here, that is auth log, boot log, bootstrap log, and you will find multiple log files here in this directory or folder. So this folder is the crucial folder on your Linux Mint system because it contains all the log files. We can easily view these log files on your terminal. One of the most important logs contained within this folder is the syslog. This is the syslog file. This particular log file logs everything except the authentication related messages. So if you want to see the content of any log file or the syslog file, then you have to write on your terminal cat and then write here syslog, and it will show all the logs that are present in this file. So in this way you can easily see the log files or the content of the log file on your terminal. This shows the full content of the log file on your terminal, but if you want to see the less information, then you have to write here less. And now write the name of the log file, that is syslog, and now it is displaying the less information. So as you will hit enter, it will continue displaying the more information to you. You can also use the arrow keys to scroll down one line at a time. And if we ls here again, and you can see that we have multiple log file here. For example, if I want to see the auth.log file, then I will write here auth.log and it will show the content of this log file. Less auth.log. So now it shows the less information. So let's see that what kind of information is present here. So you can see that in this date and time, the Linux Mint user logged into the system. If you are a developer or Linux administrator, then you must be aware of the log file content. We can also see the log file with the dmesg command, and this command prints the kernel ring buffer. So by default, the command will display all the messages from the kernel ring buffer. From the terminal window, you have to issue this command. Write on your terminal dmesg and the entire kernel ring buffer is displayed on your terminal. And if you want to see the less information of this command, then you can write here less, and it will show the less information. You can also view the log files with the tail command. The tail command is probably one of the single most handy tool that you have at your disposal for the viewing of log files. What tail does is output the last part of the file. So if you issue the command tail syslog, so it will show the last part of this log file. And you can see that now the information is in less form and it is only the last part of this log file. You can also use the multiple options and parameters with the tail command. For example, you can write here tail -f syslog. So when we will issue this command, the tail will continue watching the log file and print out the next line written to the file. It means that we can follow that what is written to the syslog, and it is very helpful in case of Linux Mint. So the log files are very important for the developer and the Linux administrators because it contains all the information and the errors that occurred in your system. So you can view the log files and fix the errors, and these were the multiple commands that you can use to see the log files. And that's it for this topic. The next topic is terminating the processes with the kill command, and it is the topic number 26. So in this topic we will see that how we can list down the processes that are running in our Linux Mint system and how we can kill these processes. So we use multiple commands in Linux Mint to see the status of the processes, and we can use the kill command to kill the processes then. So in order to see the status of the processes in your Linux Mint system, you have to open up your terminal first. Let me just zoom in the terminal a little bit. So this is my terminal, and you can see the status of the processes in Linux Mint by using the top command and the ps command. The ps command shows the process status as snapshot, and if you want a live view of the processes, then we need to use the top command. So first of all, we will use the top command to see the status of the processes. So in order to see the status of the processes, write on your terminal top and hit enter. So this is the output that is generated by the top command, and it has listed down all the processes that are running on my Linux Mint system. So here we have the PID, which is the process ID. In Linux, every process has a process ID, and this process ID is unique for every process. And further we have the user which has initiated this process, and furthermore we have the information that how much CPU, memory and time is used by this process. And at the end we have the command that was used to initiate this process. So if we discuss about the first process, the PID is 2234, and the user who has initiated this process is linuxmint. The total CPU that is used by this process is 1.0, and it is taking 0.1% memory of your Linux Mint system. And then we have the time column, which shows that how much time is taken by this process. And at the end we have the command that is used to initiate this process. So for the first process, the command that is used to initiate this process is top command. So that is how you can see the process's status on your Linux Mint system. So that was all about the top command, and now we can use the ps command to see the status of the processes. So in order to use the ps command, you just simply have to write on your terminal ps and hit enter. So as we can see that we have 4 columns here. The first one is PID, which is the process ID, and it shows the process identification number. The second column is the TTY, which identifies the terminal from which the process was executed. The third column is the time column that shows the process's time occupied by the program. And the fourth column is the CMT column, which shows the command that is used to launch this process. The PS default output without any parameters, you can see, will only list the processes that are executed by the root user. But if you want to check the processes that are executed or ran by every user, then you have to write here on your terminal ps-a, and it will show all the processes that are executed or ran by every user on your Linux Mint system. And if you want to see the extra details of the processes, that how much memory is consumed by the process, how much CPU is occupied by this process, then you have to write here on your terminal ps-axu. And now you can see that you have a long list of processes here on your terminal. And here we have multiple columns, some additional columns as compared to the ps command. So the first column is the user column, which specifies the user who executed the program. The second column is the PID, which is essentially the process ID. And the third column is CPU, which shows the processor percentage that is used by the specific process. And the fourth column is the memory column, and it shows the memory percentage that is used by this process. And the next column is VSC, which is the virtual size in kilobytes. The RSS column shows the real memory used by the process. The TTY column identifies the terminal from which the process was executed. And the state column shows the information on the process state just as its priority. And the start column shows when the process has started. The time column shows the processor's time occupied by the program, and the CMD shows the command that is used to launch this process. So if you want to see the processes that are executed by a specific user like linuxmint in my case, so I will write here ps-U, and here you have to write the name of the user that you want to see, that which processes are executed by this specific user. So my username is linuxmint, so I am writing here linuxmint, and now it lists down all the processes that are executed by the linuxmint user. So that was all about that, how you can see the processes status on your linuxmint system. Now let's talk about that, how we can kill a particular process. So killing a particular process is very easy in linuxmint. So we can use the kill command to kill the processes in linuxmint. So before killing the processes, let's see the processes status by using the ps command. So here we have two processes, and if we want to kill the first process, then we have to write here kill -9, and now we have to write the process ID of the process that we want to kill, and in this case we are killing the first process, and the PID for the first process is 4334. So when I will hit enter, you can see that it has closed the terminal because this process was about running the terminal on the linuxmint. So let's open up the terminal again. And similarly, we can use the kill all command that is used to kill all the processes associated with the program name. So if I run here on my terminal ps-aux to see all the processes, and if we want to kill all the processes that are associated with the program name, then we have to write here on the terminal kill all, and now we have to write here the program name. For example, if I want to kill all the processes that are ran by soffice.bin, so I will write here soffice.bin. So when I will hit enter, it will close all the Word files here on my linuxmint system, and it will kill all the processes that are associated with soffice.bin. So it has closed the Word file that was opened here. So that is how you can see the processes status and kill the processes in your linuxmint system, and that's it for this topic. Alright, now let's move on to the next topic, that is topic number 27, changing the /etc/sysctl settings. The sysctl is a command, and it is a powerful Linux command which acts as an interface to dynamically change the kernel parameters. So with the help of this command, you can modify the kernel parameters without recompiling the kernel or rebooting the machine or your linuxmint system. So the parameters available for modification can be found under the /proc/sys directory. So there exists a file that is sysctl.conf file, and this file deals with the kernel parameters. So we will have a look on this file, and we will see that what type of data is present in this file. So now let's see that what is this file. So to open this file, go to your files, click here, and go to the etc directory and open it as root. It will prompt for the password, so you have to enter your password here. So on the top you can see that in the red side that you have now the elevated privileges. So press Ctrl F here and search for the sysctl.conf file. So this is the file. Open it up. So you can see that it is the configuration file for system variables, and it has all the information regarding the kernel parameters, and it is a very crucial file for your Linux Mint system. You can also read and check the current kernel parameters on your terminal. So to check the kernel parameters, write here sysctl-a, and it will show a list of the kernel parameters on your terminal. So the sysctl is an interface that allows you to make changes to a running Linux kernel. So with the /etc/sysctl.conf, you can configure various Linux networking and system settings. For example, you can limit network transmitted configuration for your IP version 4. You can limit the network transmitted configuration for your IP version 6. You can turn on the X shield protection. You can prevent against the common SYN flood attack. You can turn on source IP address verification, and you can prevent a cracker from using a spoofing attack against the IP address of the server. So the sysctl command is used to modify the kernel parameters at runtime, and we have seen the .conf file as well. You can use the -w option with the sysctl command to switch to write a value to a variable. For example, sysctl-w net.ipv4.icmp_echo_ignore_all. So this command will instruct the server to ignore the ICMP packets. The value 0 represents the off and the value 1 represents the on. These changes are temporary and will get reset on reboot. So the permission is denied, so we have to run this command with the sudo mode. Enter your password here, and the value is set now. So this is the temporary modification, but if you want to do permanent modification to the kernel parameters, you can directly modify the files in the procfs to alter the kernel parameters. For example, if you want to change this value for the permanent, then you can write here sudo echo 1 greater than sign /proc/sys/net IPv4. Let me just remove this command first. /ICMP_echo_ignore_all. So when you will hit enter, so this setting will be saved for the permanent time. You can also modify the .conf file. So let's get back to the conf file again. This is the etc directory, and to open it as root. Now search for the sysctl.conf file. So here you can see that you have multiple values here. For example, if you want to change this value of 1 and you want to off this filter, then you have to write here 0, and when you will save the file, the changes will be saved. You can control the IP packet forwarding. IP packet forwarding needs to be enabled only on server which act as routers or gateways. In all other servers, this feature needs to be disabled. So you can search for this line, and you can see that the value on your Linux Mint system is 1. And if you want to disable this, then you have to write 0 here, and you have to save this file. So the configuration file has more data that is related to your kernel parameters, and you can change this file and you can further explore this file. The next topic is configuring the network interfaces on your Linux Mint system. So let's see that what is a network interface. A network interface is a software interface to the networking hardware. Linux kernel distinguishes between two types of network interfaces, and they are physical and virtual. Physical network interface represent an actual network hardware device such as network interface controller, what we call NIC. And in practice, you will often find ETH0 interface, which represent Ethernet network card. And a virtual network interface does not represent any hardware device, and it is usually linked to one. So there are different kinds of virtual network interfaces that are loopback, bridges, VLANs, tunnel interfaces, and so on. So the most of the operating system provide commands or option to set up network interfaces using the command line. On Linux Mint system, we can directly edit network configuration files and make changes as per our requirements. So in this topic, I would let you know that how to set up network interface on your Linux Mint system. So first of all, let's see that how we can see the network interfaces of our Linux Mint system, and for this purpose we have ifconfig command and ip command. So open up your terminal and run here ifconfig, and these are the network interfaces of my Linux Mint system. So here I do not have ETH0 because I am running the Linux Mint on a virtual machine, but if you have installed Linux Mint as your host operating system, then you will find the ETH0 network interface in this list. So ETH0 is a physical interface that represents Ethernet network card. It is used for communication with other computers on the network and on the internet. So here we have the ENP-OS3 and the LO network interface. LO is a special virtual network interface that is called loopback device. Loopback is used mainly for diagnostic and troubleshooting, and it is used to connect to service running on the local host. While the ENP-OS3 is the network interface of my virtual machine. And similarly, you can run the IP-ADDR command to find the network interfaces, and we have the same output here, LO and ENP-OS3. So by doing the configuration of a network interface, you can assign the static IP to the interface, or you can set up second IP on a network interface. So let's see that how we can do it. So there are two ways to configure the network interfaces on your Linux Mint system. The first is through the terminal, and the second is through a GUI application that is a network application, and it is built in your Linux Mint system. So we will see both methods in this topic, that how we can configure the interface or the network interface using these methods. So in order to assign a static IP of your interface, we have to edit the network interface configuration file that is present in /etc/network folder, and the name of the file is interfaces, and we have to configure this file. For example, we are configuring the LO interface to have a static IP address. So for this purpose, write on your terminal sudo vi/etc/network/interfaces, and hit enter and open up this file. Enter your sudo password here. So here we have auto LO and iFace LO init loopback. So I am using the Vim editor. So therefore, to go to the next line, I have to press O here, and I will go to the next line. All right. So in order to assign the static IP address to the LO interface, write here iFace LO init static, and now write here address and assign any address 192.168.100.1. and similarly, now we have to define the net mask, and define the value of the net mask here, that is 255.255.255.0. define the gateway, write the gateway address here 192.168.1.1, and these values can be changed according to your own configuration. And now we have to write the DNS name servers, DNS name server, that is 8.8.8.8. So this is how you can assign the static IP address to your network interface, and you can configure your network interface. So in order to save these changes, you have to press escape if you are using the Vim editor, and then you have to write here WQ and the factorial sign and hit enter, and the changes will be saved. So after making all the above changes, you have to restart network service using the following command. Write the name of the interface here, that is lo 0 sudo /etc/init.d networking restart. So this will restart your network interface. So that is how you can use the terminal to configure your network interfaces. And now let's move on to the GUI based application that is built in your Linux Mint system. So in order to open that application, go to the app menu and write here network. Open it up. So this is the information of your network here, that your IP address is 10.0.2.15, IP version 6 address is this, hardware address is also given default root and DNS server. So in order to configure or change the settings of these network interfaces, click on the setting buttons at the bottom of the screen. And here you have the details of your network. So here we have multiple tabs. For example, security tab, identity tab, IP version 4, IP version 6, and reset. So in order to define the IP version 4, you have to open this list, click on manual, and define the address here that we did on the terminal, that is 192.168.1.100.1. Now define the net mask, that is 255.255.255.0, and now define the gateway ID, that is 192.168.1.1. and lastly we have to define the DNS name server, that is 8.8.8.8 in my case. So when you will click on the apply, the changes will be saved and your network interface will be configured. So that is how you can configure your network interfaces using the terminal and using the GUI based tool. So in this topic we have learned that what is a network interface, how we can check the network interfaces list, and how we can configure the network interfaces. So I hope you got the point, and that's it for this topic. The next topic is UFW firewall setup and configuration. A firewall is a system that is designed to prevent unauthorized access to or from a private network. You can implement a firewall in either hardware or software form, or a combination of both. Firewalls prevent unauthorized internet user from accessing private network connected to the internet. So firewall is basically a protective shield for your Linux Mint system or for any system. So UFW or uncomplicated firewall is a front end for managing firewall rules in your Linux system. UFW is used through the command line, and it aims to make firewall configuration easy to use. So in order to configure and set up your UFW firewall in Linux Mint system, open up your terminal. The UFW brought the capability to quickly set up a customized firewall. So in order to use the UFW firewall, we have to install the UFW firewall. So if you have not UFW firewall installed on your system, then you can install it by running the following command: sudo apt install UFW, and hit enter. Enter your sudo password here. Alright, the UFW firewall is already installed on my system, but if you are installing it for the first time, then it will take a couple of minutes. So now let's get started with the UFW. To begin, let's enable the firewall at the startup by running the following command: sudo UFW enable. Hit enter. As you can see in the output that the firewall is active and enabled on system startup. And in any case, if you want to disable the firewall, then you have to write here disable instead of enable, and it will disable the firewall on the startup. At any time, you will be able to check the firewall status with the verbosity by running the following command: sudo UFW status verbose. So here it shows the status of your UFW firewall, that the status is active, it is logging on. And furthermore, you can see the default policy for incoming traffic is denied and the outgoing traffic is allowed. And the third parameter, that is disable routed, shows that the forwarding and routing are disabled. And you can change the policy by using multiple commands. And for example, if you want to reject the incoming traffic, then you have to write here sudo ufw default reject incoming. So it will reject all the incoming traffic. Alright, so once you blocked all the incoming traffic independently of any condition, so let's start set discriminative rules to accept what we want to be accepted specifically. For example, if we are setting up a web server and you want to accept all petitions coming to your web server in port 80, then you can write here sudo ufw allow, and here you have to write the port number that you want to allow. For example, in this case it is port number 80. Excuse me for this, and let me just correct this command. Alright, the rule is added and the port number 80 is allowed for all the incoming traffic. So that was all about the UFW firewall setup and configuration. You can explore more about the UFW firewall setup and the configuration, and that's it for this topic. Now let's move on to the next topic, that is using the crontab, and it is essentially the topic number 30. So in this topic we will see that what is crontab and how we can use it. So first of all, let's discuss that what is crontab. The crontab on Linux runs tasks in the background at specific time. It is like the task scheduler as we use on Windows. So we can add the task to your system crontab file using the appropriate syntax, and cron will automatically run them for you. Crontab files can be used to automate backups, system maintenance, and other repetitive tasks. The syntax is powerful and flexible, so you can have a task run every 15 minutes or at a specific minute on a specific day every year. So in order to use the crontab, open up your terminal and write here on your terminal crontab-e to open your user account crontab file. So commands in this file will run with your user account permission. If you want a command to run with the system permission, then you have to use sudo crontab-e. So you have to write sudo here. So run crontab-e on your terminal and hit enter. You may be asked to select an editor. So you can select any editor like Nano or Vim. I selected the Vim editor. But you can select the Nano if it is available by typing its number and then pressing enter. Nano is the default editor of the linuxmint and it is very easy to use. So this is the crontab line, and we can use the arrow keys or the page down key to scroll to the bottom of the crontab file in Nano or your Vim editor. The lines starting with the hash are comment lines, which means that cron ignores them. So comments just provide information to the people that are editing the file. So this is the syntax of the crontab file. So in this way we have to write a task to run into the background, and we have to schedule the task in this way. So the lines in the crontab file are written in the following sequence. First of all, we have to define the minute, that on which minute the task should run. Then we have to define the hour, that on what specific hour the task should run. Then we have to define the day, and then we have to define the month, as you can see here the sequence. And then we have to define the weekday, and lastly we have to write the command. So here is some information about the crontab. So when you have to define the days of week, you have to write 0 to 6. Where the Sunday is represented by the 0, and respectively for the Monday we will write 1, and for the Tuesday we will write 2, and for the Wednesday we will write 3, and so on. So when you have to define the month, then you have to write 1 to 12, and 1 is for the January and the 12 is essentially for the December. And when it comes to the day of the month, you have to write the date of the day. For example, 1 to 31, that on which day or which day of the month the task should run in the background. And when it comes to defining the hour value, then we have to define it from 0 to 23. It is the 24 hours time format. And similarly, for defining the minutes, we have to define it in 0 to 59. You can choose a static character to match any value. For example, using a static for the month would cause the command to run every month. And similarly, if you want to run the command for every day, then you can write here static and the command will run for every day. So let's see an example and add some background tasks in the crontab file. So first of all, we have to define minute, and let's say that I have the command should run on 30th minute of the 0 hour on Sunday, and the command should run on Sunday, so therefore I have to write here 0. But if you want to run the command every day, then you can put static here as well. And for the month, you can write the month from 1 to 12 as we discussed. And if I say that the command should run in March, then I would write here 3 and it represents the March. And if I want to run this command every month, then I will write here static. And for the weekday, I want to run this command on Sunday, so I will write here 0. And lastly, we have to write here the command. So for example, I say that I have a file that is example file and there are some commands written here. So I will write here user/bin/example.sh file. So when it will be the 30th minute of the 0 hour every day and every month on Sunday, then this command will run. So this is how you can schedule the task, and you can run the task in the background using the cron tab. And after writing the command, similarly you can write here multiple commands, like you can add here another command that would be static, and here you have to write the name of the command or the name of the file where the commands are stored, example1.sh. So after writing the commands, you have to save this file, and I am using the Vim editor. So in order to save this file, I have to write here WQ and this factorial sign, and it has saved the file. So if I open this file again, so you can see that the task is scheduled here. So this was about the cron tab, and this is how you can use the cron tab to run the task in your background or schedule the task on your Linux Mint system. And that's it for this topic. Now let's move on to the next topic, that is essentially topic number 31, and it is taking backups and snapshots of your Linux Mint system. So before you start using your operating system, set up your system snapshots. If anything goes wrong, you can restore your system from an earlier backup. So taking the backup and creating the snapshots is very easy in Linux Mint, and it is very essential. For example, if you delete some important files or if you lose some data that is very important, so by creating the backups you will store this data, and later on you can restore this data by your snapshots. So to take the backups and snapshots of the Linux Mint system, go to the app menu here and search here for the time shift. So this is the time shift application. Open it up, enter your password here. So this is the time shift screen for you, and now you have to click on settings. So from this screen you have to select the snapshot type. I will recommend you to select the rsync, and then you have to go to the location tab, and from here you have to select the location from where your snapshot will be stored. So if you have multiple disks available in your Linux Mint system, then you can select a particular disk, and after this you have to go to the schedule tab, and here you have to schedule your snapshot time. So it depends on that how you set your snapshot levels. So I will recommend you to select the weekly option, and here you can configure the keep option as well. Now go to the users tab, and user home directories are excluded by default unless you enable them here. So I will recommend you to include all for the Linux Mint, because this is my main user, and there is no need to include the root user as well, because you do not want to keep the configuration files of the system and the operating system files. But for your user, it is important to keep all the files, and you have to include all, because it will include all the musical files and the video files that you have downloaded or stored on your system. And after that, you have to go to the filters tab, and you have to select these options here, and then you have to click on OK. So now you have set up the snapshot settings and the backup settings. So now we have to create a snapshot. So in order to create a snapshot, you have to click on the create button. So it is creating the snapshot and it is syncing the files with the rsync. It will include all the files and the directories that are available in your system, and it is a time-taking process. It will take some time to sync all the files. Alright, the disk space on my system is not enough for creating the snapshot, but once you have created the snapshot, then it will be listed down here on this frame. For example, the snapshot will be shown here, and if you want to restore any particular snapshot, then you have to select this snapshot, and when you will click on the restore button, the snapshot will be restored and your files will be recovered. So in this way you can take backups and snapshots of your Linux Mint system. I hope you got the point, and that's it for this topic. Alright, so let's move on to our final topic, that is installing and using the Docker containers on the Linux Mint system. And in this topic we will see that what are Dockers and how we can install it on the Linux Mint system. So in the professional world, there are a number of really powerful tools that are powering the backend of today's internet-driven world. Most of us are not even familiar with these tools. Of course, those are the tools for professionals, so Docker is such a tool. So in the case of Linux Mint, there are numerous ways that an app can be enjoyed, and we have seen in these topics that can bring a lot of confusion and issues. So what is Docker? A Docker is a special tool that is designed specially for easier creation, deployment, and running Linux app using the containers. In Docker's terms, containers are a pre-bundled environment where Linux apps can run in an expected and repeatable fashion. The containers come up with all the essential resources. This allows the same container to run on every supported Linux platform. So as you can guess, this makes things a lot easier for the developer. So being free from the concern of portability, developers can focus fully on the app itself and make it way better. So in a sense, Docker works like a virtual machine. However, it is significantly different at the core level. In the case of virtualization, the guest environment is created on top of the host. However, in the case of Docker, containers are allowed to access hardware resources directly via the host kernel. In addition, on these packages that are not available on the host system is packed inside Docker. So both of these features together offer a huge boost in both performance and size of each container. So why we have to use the Docker? This is a question. It is an open source with a huge community behind it. It has already found its place in the professional workspace, and it is also possible to extend the features of Docker to meet anyone's need and add additional features that don't arrive out of the box. So however, for developing a Docker container, the security has to be ensured. Docker offers quite good security measurement for apps running in such a shared environment. So however, containers by themselves are not an alternative to taking full-fledged security measures. So who is the Docker for? Docker is a tool that is meant to benefit the full set of modern IT and software development professionals, including the newest field of the DevOps. For software developers, Docker is a big relief. There is no more necessary for worrying about cross-platform compatibility. With thousands of already available apps, developers can get a head start in their Docker container development. So for operations and staff, Docker offers an ultimate flexibility. It potentially reduces the number of systems that are necessary. Docker itself creates only a small footprint and lower overhead. So how we can get started with the Docker on the Linux Mint? So for the Linux Mint user, Docker can become an integral part. Using Docker, it is possible to perform seemingly impossible tasks with ease. So without any further ado, let's get Docker ready on the Linux Mint. And first of all, we have to install the Docker from the official repository. And the commands that I will use in this topic are the lengthy commands. So I will paste the commands on my terminal. So these commands will be available in the description of this video. So you can copy and paste these commands from the description as well. So at first, open up your terminal. And it is strongly recommended to make sure that there is no version of Docker installed previously. So in order to remove the already installed version of Docker on your system, you have to run the following command. So as I said earlier that these commands are available in the description of this video, so you can copy and paste these commands from there. So it is completely okay to have none of these packages installed previously. So make sure the apt cache is up to date. Run the following command: sudo apt update. Alright, the apt cache is up to date. So by default the apt does not use the HTTPS. So we have to install some packages that will allow apt to use a repository over HTTPS. So to install the HTTPS, we have to write on the terminal sudo apt-get install apt-transport-https. Alright, the apt transport HTTPS downloaded successfully, and now we have to download the CA certificates. So right here on your terminal sudo apt-get install CA-certificates. Alright, and now we have to make sure that we have the curl command already installed in our Linux Mint system. So for this purpose you have to run sudo apt-get -install curl. Alright, the curl is already in the newest version. And now we have to install the GNU-PG agent. So for this purpose you have to write sudo apt-get install GNU-PG-agent. Alright, and lastly we have to install the software properties common. So for this purpose write here sudo apt-get install software properties common. Alright, all the necessary packages that we will use to install the Docker and use the Docker on the Linux Mint system are installed successfully. And now we have to enable the Docker repository, and for enabling the Docker repository, the official Docker key is important. So this is the time to add the official GPG key of Docker into the apt-key ring. And to add the official GPG key of Docker into the apt-key ring, we have to use this command. Alright, as you can see on the terminal, the output is that the key is added successfully. And after the successful addition of the key, it is safe to verify the key. So run the following command. So you can see that the key is verified. So in the case of Docker, there are three different repositories. They are stable, nightly, or test. So let's configure the stable repository, because as the name suggests, it is the stable version of the Docker. Alright, so this is the command to add the stable repository of Docker. So the repository is added successfully. So once the repositories are added successfully, now we have to refresh the apt cache again. Sudo apt update. So finally install the latest version of the Docker CE and container by running the following command. Sudo apt install docker.io. So the Docker is already installed on my Linux Mint system, but if you are installing it for the first time, then it will take 320 megabytes of memory on your Linux Mint system, and it will take 15 to 20 minutes, and it depends upon your internet speed. So after the Docker installation, you can run the following command to see the installed version of Docker on your system, and the Docker version 19.0.3.6 is installed on my linuxmint system. You can also verify the installation of Docker by running the following command: sudo docker run hello world. You can see that it has printed on the terminal hello from the Docker, and this message shows that your installation appears to be working correctly. So it means that the Docker is successfully installed, and you can further explore about the Docker and learn about this tool, that how you can do various things and install various applications by using the Docker. So let us know in the comment section that how you find this course and how much helpful it was to learn about the linuxmint. Thank you.